Hey, everybody. How is everybody doing tonight on this Thursday, February 15th, 2024? Welcome back, guys. Great to have you here. Great to see you. As you all can see, tonight we are delving into Delphi. And as you can see in the title, it says corruption with a question mark. Is there corruption going on? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's talk about the Franks motion to start with and more. There's quite a bit more. I just kind of want to throw these things around between everybody and see what everybody thinks tonight on the subject of corruption when it comes to this. So, as I always say, let's get this show on the road. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. What up, what up, what up, what up? How is everybody tonight? Welcome back, guys. Hope you're all having a great night. Had a great day today as well. And thank you all for joining me. Appreciate everybody that joined in with us last night. Great to see you here tonight as well. Come on in, grab a seat, get comfortable, and let's see what we can get into. As it states, and as I stated, we're delving into Delphi and the possibility of the corruption. We're going to talk about it all the way around the table, folks. There's some crazy things that have been going on in this case from the beginning. From those of you that have been following it, and I know quite a few of you have just recently jumped into this because of me bringing it up to you. I tried to catch most everybody up with most everything that goes on in it. I've had a lot of help from a couple of really, really amazing people that throw me the info, that help me to find the info, because they're very, very passionate about this being seen. So share this out, guys, please, if you will. And those of you that are here, please make sure you're hitting the like button. I've only got 30 likes right now with 46 people, and I really do need a lot more people than 46 in here because this needs to be seen by the whole world. It does. It's a crazy case. Like I said, we've all followed the Idaho case, and it's got its quirks and its issues. But this case, in my opinion, everything's wrong with it. Everything from the beginning. Okay, for the simple fact that it happened 6 years ago, and we're just now doing what we're doing with it, and it's not right. I do believe that the man that is in custody for this case is not the right man. And if he is part of it, it's a very minuscule part. Um, we have to get this out there, guys. Please hit that like button. Share this out to all your friends, family, the milkman, the bailment, whatever. This is an important case, guys, and it needs looked at with the utmost importance, in my opinion. I didn't follow this. I followed this from the way back. Okay, and it was just sad to me. Very sad situation that happened. And I wasn't that into true crime back then when it first went down. And when I did get into true crime, Richard Allen gets arrested. Um, so I followed that a little bit, and I thought, okay. And back then, they got the guy in custody that did this. Thank God, there's finally going to be some sort of closure for the families of Abby and Libby. Now, see, and that is what the biggest part of this, guys, is that justice for Abby and Libby. End result, period, nothing more. True justice for those two girls and their families. That's what 99.5% of this case should be about. The other tiny little percentage is about making sure that Richard Allen, if he is, the suspect, gets what he should get. Okay. And if he's not, then he doesn't need to be in jail or prison as they have him. And starting from the very beginning of this case, you guys, the man was arrested, brought into custody. Within a short period of time, the judge on the case threw him in a prison, and then he recused himself and disappeared from the case altogether. That was the first red flag, in my opinion. It's just, it doesn't. And then little by little by little, all these things started happening, and they don't make sense in this case. Okay, they don't make sense in any case, to be honest with you. If any of these things have happened in any other cases down the road, they would have been blown up all over the place. But for some reason, this is kept low, and nobody pays that much attention to it, in my opinion. They don't. I look all over the internet, and I don't see that many people doing what I'm doing right now, talking about it like this. I just don't. Why? I don't know. Because it is a very serious scenario. We talk all the time about constitutional rights when it comes to, and human rights when it comes to Idaho. Well, here we are. And this one is the one that it needs that look at it. It really needs to be seen that way. So that's why I'm saying, guys, we got to get this out there. That's another good point. Thank you, Salty. The first red flags were the 3 prior suspects that we knew of, and no arrest came from one of those 3. And then all of a sudden, this guy that's been living for 5 years after this murder happens in this area, working at the CBS, going to local bars and restaurants and this and that. Okay, there's sketches up of this guy supposedly at the place that he works at for 5 years, folks. At the bar that him and his wife sit and hang out and drink at for 5 years, folks. In other places in that area for 5 years, guys. Not one time did anybody in that town look at that poster and look at him and go, that's him. That's him. And that's the other thing. Thank you. It's a very small town. So everybody kind of knows each other and knows, there's not a big area to be sprawled out with all of these people not seeing these things either. So that's what I don't get. 5 years, all these people are looking at these sketches and seeing him and talking to him and passing and this and that. And nobody one time says, it's you. You did this. These are people that live in the town with him and have for the whole 5 years. Why? Why did nobody say anything for that 5 years? And all of a sudden one day, Richard Allen's arrested. That makes 0 sense to me. None. Okay? None. Not one little bit. Okay? I'm sorry to say, but I know there's people that think this man's guilty out there, and I respect that. I do. And I'm not saying that he's not involved in this, you guys, but I've watched and seen and read too much stuff now that tells me commonsensically it don't make sense. It don't. Okay. And the things that are allowed to go on with this case and have been allowed to go on with this case, they don't make sense either legally. Okay. I learned something new last night that just kind of blew that little tuft of hair off the top of my head again. Like, what? How does that make sense? We're going to get into that here too. I'm just giving everybody some time to jump on in here, guys, so we can get enough people in here to get this out there. Yeah, I don't want to say I think Richard Allen's innocent. That's not what I'm trying to say, guys. But I'm saying that I don't think he's as involved as they've made him to be. They have him in prison being the only guy that's involved in this. And it's very hard to say that he has any involvement. But if he does, it's a very minuscule amount. Like I said, I just don't see it. There's things that, the PCA, I read that to you guys a couple of weeks back. We went over that, looked at it, and it doesn't make sense. Tonight, we're going to be talking, and this is going to be a discussion. I want this open to everybody, too. I want your guys' thoughts on the things, because a lot of people in here don't know about this, okay? Don't know the small little details that have been kind of brushed to the side or hidden so that you can't, but we don't know about it, okay? There's a bullet. There's the Frank's motion. We're going to be talking about that. There's the timeline stuff. There's just too many things that are wrong. So that's what it's going to be about. Let's see who we got joining us for this tonight. To start off with, by the way, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you very much. Miss Victoria, welcome back. Great to see you. Love Tina. Same to you. JR Nana Boomer. Welcome, welcome. Gary Epley, good to see you, brother. Thank you for being here tonight. Miss Salty, the True Crime Time is in the house. Thank you for joining us again. Always a pleasure. Miss Salty is one of the main ones that has helped me with this case to be able to get right and true and real details on it, because you know how information gets out and sometimes it doesn't get out the right way. Well, Salty is the one that has brought this to me, and I'm very beyond grateful for her for that. And she does an amazing job at it. So again, thank you, Salty. Award Eagles in the house. Thank you for jumping back in with us. Irene Klopper, great to see you. Mandy Joe, the Wonder Mod, welcome back. Good to see you, Mandy. Thank you for joining us. Any Ruler, great to have you here. Thank you for joining us again tonight. Felicity J, always a pleasure, dear. Thank you for being here. Charlotte Gross, welcome back to you. Let's see here. Chris Owens, good to see you. Good to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Carolyn Miller, always a pleasure, as always. Thank you for being here. Victoria, great to see you. Great to have you here. Let me see. Josie West, great seeing you guys. Again, please share this out to anybody you think would be interested. Anybody that you think would want to help to put this out there so that this case can get some real justice. Please, please, please. Evie Marie, great to see you. Miss Holly, welcome back to you. Virginia Wolf, what's happening, my friend? Great to see you again tonight. Doodlebug, always a pleasure, dearie. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Julie Bean, welcome back, dear. Good to see you. Let's see here. Cindy Curve, happy to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Philip Hughes, my friend. Good to see you, brother. Hope you're having a wonderful night and had a great day today. Thank you for joining us. Let me see. K Dips 1-8. What's in the house? Good to see you. Good to have you here. Brandy B, the OG. I was wondering where you were, dear. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. As always, Brandy never misses a day. And if she does, what is going on? Good to see you, Brandy. Thank you for joining me. Sherry Ann, great to see you tonight. Thank you for joining us. Excuse me, guys. Kate Pruitt, welcome back. Katie, good to see you tonight. Thank you for joining us. Annie Ruler, hola. Miss Annie Ruler, good to see you. Tomboy Charms in the house. What's going on, Tomboy? Thank you for joining us. The Archer and the Empress, Tarot, welcome. Good to see you. Let's see here. I think I'm getting to the top now. We got 54 people, 41 likes, guys. Please make this match and grab some other peeps and drag them in here. SW True Crime and more. Thank you for joining us tonight. What is going on? Legendary CEO's in the house, guys. He's a legend. What's going on, Legendary? Good to see you tonight. Thank you for joining us. Come on in, guys. Go grab a chair. Grab a seat. We're going to be here for a while. Angel amongst us. Thank you for joining us tonight. Great to have you here. Great to see you. Come on in, everybody. Come on in. Miss Joanne, thank you for joining us tonight. It's great to see you as always. Yes, we need another algorithm for this, guys. Big time. Big time. Robert Bell, great to see you. This algorithm is stuck in the Idaho stream. That can have its own algorithm. We need a new one for this. Let's make it happen here tonight, if we can, please. Miss Canadian Cat Lady, great to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight, dear. Excuse me. Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me. I think I said hello. Irene Clobber, thank you for joining us. Let's see here. Let me see. Come on in, guys. All right, come on, come on. Again, share this out. Hit the like button. I'll leave some DNA, if you will. Cool. Good stuff. I got a couple things to throw in tonight to talk about, to review, to look at. Um, Again, thank you for all that stuff there, Miss Faulty. I do appreciate you. I really do. All right, all right. Give me a minute here. Got to educate some peeps on this too that don't know much about it. Sarge is very good at talking about and looking at constitutional issues and things like that. And I think he's got some good, some knowledge on it. I really want him to look at this case like he has looked at the Idaho case and see what he sees, what he could see. Okay, I really would just that's what I'd like. I really would like him to look at this one and see the same things because they're worse, way worse than they are in Idaho. I was telling him that earlier, so he'll be joining us up here in a minute, and I want opinions from all you guys too. I'd love. Please know that when I do that and I say, "Hey, I want to hear what you guys think of that," don't be afraid of this panel, guys. Nobody's going to judge you. I'm not going to ever allow that. So please don't ever be afraid to pop up here and say, "Hey, this is what I think," or I say, "Hey, what's this all about?" Or, "Hey, why did this happen?" I want you guys to do that. That's what this whole community's been about, is to be able to voice your opinions with commonsensical basis and logic, of course. But that's one thing that I want to say. And again, I'm never ever going to want anybody to victim shame on any platform, any form of whatsoever with any of these victims in any of these cases. So that's one thing we don't allow for sure. But I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this, your opinions. Anybody that's followed, don't ever be afraid to pop up here and say, "Hey, this is what I think, Dago," or "This is what I want to know," and "What do you think about this and this and that?" Like I said, there's some new info that I heard last night that really blew me up over this bullet thing. Do you have all chat on or just top chat? I usually put it on all chat lists. Why? Is there something wrong? Hold on a minute here. Let me make sure. Should be live chat. 1 second. All right, guys. There, yeah, it should be on live. And if has anybody heard or seen Eddie or One Made Nut anywhere? If you have, let me know. If you haven't, of course, let me know as well. But if you do see him somewhere else out here in YouTube, please let him know I'm looking for him and to like pop in and say hey to me so I know he's okay, because Actually been really worried about him lately because I haven't seen him in like 2 weeks. That's odd for him. Okay. So vaping comment. I may not have been. Guys, I apologize right up. I tried vaping, Liz. It hurts my lungs. It does. And I cough my brains out. I know everybody says try it this way, that way, and everything else. I'm going to eventually. These are going away soon. They really are. Me and my wife both are going to be done with them because I'm just tired of that. Coughing, clearing my throat, hacking this, that. It's just enough. Speaking of which. Anyway, again, guys, share this out, please, to everybody you can. He lives in Minnesota, Victoria. That's what he's told us all. Minnesota. All right. Before we get rolling, we got some, of course, our guests that will be joining us, as always. Miss Cluminati, Mr. Cletus, and the loud but not proud, obnoxious, and audacious Sarge will be here as well. All right. Welcome, folks.
Yep. They're blowing their nose and shitting their pants. They're on.
You good over there?
No, I'm sorry. I was trying to learn to whistle with 2 fingers.
That was interesting. Sound like you're blowing your nose.
No.
Welcome, welcome. Good to have you here. How you feeling, Clue?
I'm okay.
Any better yet, or no? You're getting worse.
I just feel like tired.
Yeah, that's how it starts. Cletus, you feeling better, bro? Or are you still in that same blah?
Amazing.
You're such a liar.
He's sick and she's making him cook, clean, and go out to get stuff at the store.
First off, I don't make him do anything.
He does that because he wants to, and you can't make me think any different, Sarge. I know him better.
I just know better than to say no.
That's it. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at too. I don't say no. I said no once. I did. I said no once.
How'd that work out?
To me, the only person he's ever said no to.
No. I don't care what you think. I said it no once to my wife once, guys. You guys ever seen that movie Johnny Dangerously where that guy comes in and he goes, "My brother did that to me once." Once. Yeah, that's how it goes with my wife too. I did it one time, and I didn't expect. My wife did something to me that I never expected, you guys. Okay, and she's a very sweet, quiet, just beautiful person, beautiful soul, very sweet. Remember, I said that, right? So what she did when I said no, she said, she's turned. I think she didn't think I was going to say no, and she turned around after she said what she said. She wanted me to go do something. I need you to go to the store and do this, this, and that. I was just at the store 10 minutes before that, and she forgot to tell me these things. Oh, we all know how that goes. And I said, no, I'm not going back right now. And she started walking away and must have said, I said, okay, hon, like I always do. And she stopped mid step and turned and did a exorcist turn, I call it, and looked at me and said, what'd you say? And I went, I said, I just came back from the store. No, I'm not going back. She went, say that one more time. I said, no, not right now, hon. Maybe later. She goes, okay. And turned around and walked away. And I went, and something felt funny inside when she did that. Like I had this weird feeling instantly. And I'm like, what, like, you know, like that feeling you get when you break your grandmother's 100-year-old vase? That's the feeling I had inside for about the first 10 minutes. And then it got worse because then I walked past the kitchen and I'm going and looking at her then like, and she's paying me no attention and it scared the shit out of me. Yes, exactly. Like I fucked up. Bingo. And it was. And so I start putting my shoes on and I go grab my jacket. She goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to the store. She goes, but you said no. I said, I meant right then. I meant like right that second, but I'm going. And she kind of got this little and said, okay. When she gets real calm like that and very like quiet, I'm scared. Folks. I'm very scared. This woman.
All I got to say to that is,
Yeah, well, I ain't ashamed. Listen, I've been whipped for 22 years, folks, and I'll stay whipped for the rest of my life. I don't care. Happy wife, happy life. Remember that, Cletus.
Oh, I'm aware.
Yeah. When that's something I learned. Like the first creature, she never shut up, so there was no silence. You know what I mean?
I'm not aware.
That never worked. But this one is always very bubbly and happy and talkative. When she goes quiet, you did something wrong, folks. That's all I can say. So,
I thought there was only one way to quiet a woman down.
do what?
I said I thought there was only one way to quiet a woman down. Cletus?
Here we go.
With the D. That poor quarterback. He'll never live that down. We won't let him.
No, ever.
So, again, welcome and thank you. You're going to end up being found hanging in a tree somewhere one of these days, Sarge. I'm telling you right now.
Hanging in a tree.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen to you one of these days. I'm telling you. That's where they're going to
crosses in my front yard too.
Probably not, but just that's where they're going to find you with your shoes laying in the yard somewhere over there, like you were running your life, your ass off, or running for your life.
Yeah, I wouldn't run. I take what's coming to me.
Well, you
and give as much back as I can.
That's what's going to happen to you because you just don't. It just doesn't. It doesn't process.
You know, I have good visions of things for you in your future. You got me hanging from a tree.
It ain't me. It ain't me. I have no.
I don't get it.
I don't have any bad ill will towards you at all because you do it all to yourself. You do it all to yourself.
No, I think I entertain more people than I piss off, and the people that I piss off should realize it's just entertainment. What I'm saying, I don't have any malice towards anybody. You know what I mean?
I hope they do understand. That's all I can say.
If they don't, it's on them. I mean, it isn't all in fun. And sometimes these outrageous comments just kind of like shock people enough to make them laugh.
Sometimes.
Right?
Sometimes.
Weren't you the hair inspector today?
The what?
Weren't you the hair inspector today? Chief haircut in charge?
I heard that. I heard it. He was.
He was playing hair inspector with his kid.
Oh, okay. Well, let me explain this. You know how Bozo the Clown has the bald thing here with the poofs on the side?
Yeah.
Okay. This is what my kid looked like. He had poofs on the side that were like out to here. And then he had what he has in the middle pulled back into a little tiny ponytail right here. And it was just flat. Okay. And I was like,
So he basically has your haircut inverted?
Inverted, right. The sides are grown out. The landing strip is there with a hole in the middle of it.
Where'd he go?
Okay. He's trying to defend himself. He's lost for words.
It happens. It happens. I'm about to cut mine though.
And what are you going to do? Stop cutting it. Let it grow. That's the problem. Leave it alone.
I don't do long hair anymore. I can't stand it. I don't like it any longer than this. I'm gonna cut the top down and do some spiky shit or something. I don't know. Whatever.
Like
at least
that handsome guy up on the panel. That guy's pick. Hair like that.
I mean, to be fair, like Sarge can't really talk. Like his hair looks like he's caught in a permanent windstorm in that picture. So
I am. It looks like I'm running.
Right. And I don't well, like I said earlier, running for your life. Like I said.
Right. Now I'm running towards the bank.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So I could rob it and then get the money and keep on running.
Right.
And why would I end up in a tree?
Because some of the comments you make, these women are gonna throw you.
Oh, the women that love me will defend me. Listen, the women that love me outnumber the ones that want me in a tree. Besides, if they want a branch, they don't got to put me in a tree. I promise you that.
Whatever. We'll see. We'll see.
Where is it, Cletus?
So
he's in the kitchen doing something. I don't know what.
You heard what I said about this, right, Sarge, before you came up here, didn't you?
Something about a bullet.
No, well, that's one thing. But I want you to like break this down like you did with the other case, with the Idaho case, especially the fact because I know you're about constitutional rights and human rights and all that kind of stuff, and the importance of that kind of stuff.
Has he petitioned anyone else to get rid of this judge? Has his lawyers attempted to do that? I know they.
Oh yeah. That's the whole thing. That's why they were at the Supreme Court. Remember?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It was because of the judge and because of his attorneys.
Wait. But the issue in front of the Supreme Court was that the judge forced his attorneys to quit.
They were trying to have her recused or removed as well.
But that really wasn't under the purview of the court. The real question was that they addressed was whether a judge has the authority to excuse your counsel. That was the main issue. No, the other one was kind of ancillary. It did get addressed by the court, but the court said we're not here to make that determination. Remember how the court responded to it?
I'm telling you, they have put that forth as well. It's one of the things I know.
Just not an effective direct legal argument. That's what they need to do, in my opinion. From what I'm watching, they need to come forward and go with a legal argument to the Bar Association or to an appeals court or back to the Supreme Court and make the argument why this judge is unfit to continue with this, with being the judge in this trial.
Well, again, my understanding is that they have, but I don't know the background on that, 100% yet. I don't know how far they've pushed it. I can't say that much.
They haven't really pushed it. That's what I'm telling you. They have yet to push that in a meaningful way.
Well, what's a meaningful way?
A meaningful way is you file a motion only on that issue. Directly that issue. This judge is unfit to continue because she's biased or whatever you want to make your reason to be. And you have them make a determination on that argument. Just like they did with the lawyers. The argument they made for that lawyers, that lawyer presented that court with undeniably excellent facts. The state had nothing.
Well,
his lawyers drove it home, but they didn't make the same kind of an argument to remove the judge.
This is what I was trying to explain to you. They did do that with a separate attorney. They filed and they went before the Supreme Court two different times.
I didn't see that.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. That happened. I didn't see that either. But
are you sure that happened?
Yes. There's documents on everything.
If you got copies of those documents, I'd like to see them. If you do, you don't.
I'll find it. But she did say she ruled at the one point she dismissed the motion to recuse herself. She's fought the whole time. She's fought the entire time to do this, and they've gone at the multiple directions to get her removed, and she's just fighting it all the way around for whatever reasons. I don't know if it's pride. I don't know if it's stubbornness along with the pride, or if she's just ignorant. I don't know. You know what I mean? Without sounding like an ass, I'm trying to say I don't know for a fact, but
bear with me. I've Googled it real quick.
It should
January 29, 2024, they're requesting that the special judge in Delphi double murders case step down from the trial. Let me see what this says. Because
I thought you knew that already.
I didn't know that they've actually made the formal request.
Okay. Hold on a second, guys. I have to grab my dog's yipping.
Okay, so on January 29, 2024, they did file. A formal request was filed. When did they rule on whether they could be the attorneys? What date was that? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
What was your question?
What's the date that they went to the Supreme Court?
I was live for that. I'm trying to remember. Jesus Christ. That was January. Oh, wait. I have it on my calendar, I think. Hold on.
All right.
In January. It was the 18th.
Okay, so on the 29th of January, a formal request was filed Monday morning
Right.
asking judge to recuse herself or be removed.
And she just blew that off.
Okay, so then it's got to go up to another court.
And I think they did file another one. That's what I'm saying. I do believe they filed another one to push through with another attorney, a separate attorney altogether, is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, that would be a separate attorney. It wouldn't be his attorney's doing it.
Right.
That's got to be sorted. There's a likelihood that judge, I've said before, a judge's only position on that bench is to ensure the government does not cross the constitutional limit.
Right.
That's what they're there for. And they're there to rule whether what they do or don't do, or what they do is within the limits of the Constitution. And the judge makes those rulings. The outcome of the case, the determination of verdict, is they're not a part of it unless you ask for a bench trial. So in a case with a jury, that judge just ensures that the state does not overrun you, and it ensures the request you make to the court have a basis in fact and law.
Yeah.
And that's all the judge is there to do. Their opinion of you, the case, the weather, it should have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and then that's the problem. Is she's coming off, Mady just said she's rogue, and she's coming off like she is. Like everything, like I said earlier in the beginning, his rights have been being like violated. And I think, Salty just said it too. His from the very beginning, okay? And she has not done anything at all to protect him. That's her job, like you were saying. It's the judge's job to protect the whatever person they have in custody.
Let me just say, as I'm pulling stuff up, they are going after this court, and they're actually asking for the hearing to be stopped, vacate a scheduled hearing until a ruling could be made about her being able to stay on this case.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of the problem because everything she's doing is affecting him more and more. So that's the problem, okay? And that's why she needs to be gone. She's ignoring it. She's blowing it off. I mean, I've made a couple offhanded comments I probably shouldn't have made, this whole being that she's a judge, but she's not acting like a judge. She's not acting like somebody that should be sitting on that bench. And I said, I wouldn't doubt if she's got one of these tattoos on her body somewhere because of the decisions she's making, guys. It's ridiculous. And I don't know if it's pride. I don't know if it's, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. She's not protecting him. Okay. She moved him from one prison to a worse prison. And then they put a motion through to have the man brought back to like a county jail where he should be to begin with. Nope. They won't have nothing to do with it. For what reason? There's no good reason why this man cannot be sitting in a county jail right now. And to say that's to protect him is the utmost bullshit that I've ever heard in my life. Sorry.
So he wasn't being treated bad at the county jail. The prison is what's treated him. Okay.
Yeah, he didn't even get a chance really to be in the county jail. That's the problem. He went, Judge, is it Diener, I believe it is, how to pronounce it. They did this whole thing, and basically the judge said that they were in danger. The judge and the attorneys and all these people were in danger. So they moved him to the first prison, and then he recused himself and was gone. That judge is out, okay? So then again, when that happened, all this stuff was going on at the first prison he was in. Again, to go back and reiterate some of the stuff I've said for those of you that may not have been here, an inmate came forward and said, these things are going on. This man is being mistreated. This is happening. That's happening. He's being intimidated. All these different things, okay? And this is an inmate that's in the same prison. And again, guys, this man's not going to gain anything from doing this other than negative publicity towards himself. So that, to me, told me that was a whole story by itself. That this man sees and knows that these things are wrong, and regardless of what danger he could put himself in, he's willing to put himself out there to bring this forward. Okay, so that was going on. There's guards in this. It was brought forward by the defense that Richard Allen claims that he had nothing to do with this, and it was based on an odinistic, ritualistic type scenario. Okay, that's who did this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
How would he know that? Is it Richard Allen saying that, or is it the attorney saying, Like, I'm just curious where the
I believe it was based on something he told the attorneys, and that is an interesting question. How did he know that? Right. That is the question that I've kind of asked myself, maybe because of my lack of information in the beginning of this, that I don't have. I'm working on trying to figure out how that came about to begin with. Okay. The point, I don't know if it's something he heard, something he knew, or if that's the possibility that he has some slight involvement in this. Okay. But that's not even the issue. The point is that was stated, but it is an interesting question, Clue. Thank you for bringing that up. When that was stated, all of a sudden, boom, 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 all these things start happening. Okay, there's guards at the prison he's sitting in that are wearing patches on their uniforms, what we know is not allowed, guys. Welcome, Val. So there's that, and then they're made to remove. And the thing is that the warden knew about this. Okay, that's another issue I have. So they go through the whole rigmarole for that, and then they do get him moved to another prison. So they get him moved to the next prison, and there's a guard there that has tattoos on his face, you guys, that the Odinistic tattoos. One of the other guards, they said that it was, I think he put the tattoo on his eyelid or something like that. Don't quote me on that because I have minimal information about that, but that's still kind of crazy because if this guy's eyes are open, you're not going to quite see that.
I did find a motion or filing.
Right. Good. See? Okay. I went back a couple months back and started at the beginning, but not everybody was in here for that. So that's why I'm kind of doing this real quick wash over to give you guys little bits and pieces of things. So the first prison was Westville, yes. And then the second one is called, is it Wabash? Let me check here. Okay, yeah, he's in Wabash prison now. So, after the guard was, yes, that's it right there. Thank you, Salty. After that guard was ordered to remove the patches from his uniforms, he got the tattoo on his eyelid, guys. Therefore, when his eyes are open, you don't see it. If the guy does this, you're going to see it. What does that say to you? I mean, that is about the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life, and it's so wrong. Okay, and this is what they're saying. This is how strong these people, back this up. Now, the thing is, and I want to clarify something with this. I've had people make comments to me in emails and comments and stuff about the Odinism thing, how I've explained it, and I've explained it time and time again. That he, hold on, sorry. I just lost my complete train of thought because I'm thinking about 15 different things. Jesus. And I'm going to get to the stuff we're going to go over here in a minute, but welcome, Bunny, and all of you that just jumped in. I see 87 people in here. We still only got 63 likes, guys. Please like this. Okay, so that's what it was. Thank you. It's not, we're not going at Odinism in here because Odinism is different from what this is, okay? The people that did this, if they did this, okay, this is all purely alleged and all speculation at this point because there's no, how this goes in here, just like everything. They're called heathens. It's a break off of what Odinism is. It's not what true Odinism is. They go by the name heathens. It's like a group, like we have different like motorcycle clubs. There's break-offs of different versions of them. This is a group called the Heathens, okay? And they base it off of Odinism. And it's not the right way to do it. It's bad stuff, folks. So that's it. Vinlanders of Indiana, sorry, the Heathens. That's the name they go by. And some of the people I've explained to you guys that I've showed you over the past couple of weeks are involved in those groups very proudly. Okay. And it's a scary
Vinmentors? What?
V as in Victor, IN Landers. It's like a Norse type thing based off of that. Like the Vikings and the all that kind of stuff is where its base comes from, and then it goes from there. So the patches are they're directly reflective of the OG. Yeah, and that's the thing is they're showing the old school Odinistic style by their what they're giving, the patches and stuff, but they're called heathens, and it's a branch off that they've made up of themselves. So yeah, it's kind of crazy.
But that's been all over the news, and it's been sensationalized. It's been talked as a conspiracy theory, talked as not a conspiracy theory. They did move him from one prison to another, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they have done things that would indicate there may be some way to substantiate the points they're making or the arguments the defense is throwing out there.
Well, they moved him from one prison to another, and it was just as bad, if not worse. So then his attorney tried to bring him and put a motion through to get him brought back to a county jail. Okay. And she just blows that off completely. I'm not having it. It's not happening. No, that's the end of that. End of story. So, it's bad. Okay. And we've seen him. I've showed you guys pictures of him. The man, when he was arrested, went from looking normal to within not even a full year, he looks like The Walking Dead, as I call it. The man lost so much weight. He's being drugged through the courts, into the courts by 12 deputies. In every chaining, he looks like Jacob Marley, dragging these chains and his cuffs and all this shit through here. The man can't hardly even walk. It's been stated, he's claimed that he's been given multiple drugs and never seen a doctor. How is that even legal? Okay.
Well, there's got to be a prison doctor in an infirmary.
But he's claiming, he's told his attorneys he hasn't seen one. They're giving him all these different pills. He has no idea what they are. He's ingesting these pills because they're telling him he has to, and he's never seen a doctor. Does that make any sense?
It doesn't. It's not. No, but until it's verifiable, it is.
Well, it's coming from.
Where's the filings against that? An attorney would immediately look at
those. It's all in the documents that we've looked at.
Is that they're okay? But were there ever any filings to the court pertaining to that with those accusations? With that?
Well, and that's what the attorney has been trying to find out about that, and they're not getting any answers as to it.
Because they did make a very specific filing I have here about removing this judge.
Oh yeah, 100%. I told you. They're trying to hardcore.
I think it's crazy. I just think it's crazy. Like when it comes to like how he is, like he's dirty.
Dirty boy.
What do you mean?
Like his clothes.
Oh, they're treating him like he's like in a Russian prison, you guys. Seriously. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Okay. Now some of the things I have here, I'm going to start showing you guys. I just wanted to give everybody kind of a basis to where we're at with this now. I got some things that was sent to me to show you guys, to catch up with that and to show you what I'm kind of talking about with some of this stuff. That's all.
Well, I want to go over just the bullet points in the affidavit they just recently filed to get rid of the judge, if I can.
With say that again.
I have the actual filing to remove the judge. I want to go over just the bullet points. So now I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's many pages, but the bullet.
If that's going to give you what you need to know. Then yeah, that's what I want, because I want you of all people, because of the passion you seem to play into what the other, not play into, but put into the other case. You need to have it with this, okay? Because of the type of person you are with this kind of stuff. So, where did you pull the filing from?
I just Google. There should be a college course for Google, because oftentimes it's not the topic you're searching; it's how you ask for the information. Tell
me what you typed in. I'll pull up the exact thing.
I put a link in the private channel.
Oh, I didn't even see that. I'm sorry. Why didn't you tell me that?
Because I didn't want to interrupt you. I mean, you guys talk about me talking nonstop, for fuck's sakes.
Wait a minute. Let me real quick check something. DAGOSARGE. Oh yeah, it's my solve. That's right. Shut up.
You gotta talk like
I hear you whispering, Clue. Okay.
Yeah, Sarge, shut up.
All right, here we go. Good point. So let me see. Can you see it okay?
No.
Is that big enough, or do I need to blow it up more? All right. Where do you want to start at?
Well, I've got it here. I just wanted to read the bullet points, not the whole document, because it's quite a long document and it shouldn't be, some of it people are going to understand what it means. So Judge Gill interfered with Richard Allen's attorney-client relationship. That's number one. Number two, the judge publicly and on the record disparaged defendant Allen's chosen attorneys. Number three, Judge Gill violated defendant Allen's due process rights. That may, that one's probably worth looking at a little bit. Judge Gill ambushed appointed. That's all where they ambushed. She ambushed and forced these guys off the case is what that refers to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number four, Gull engaged in critical stage proceedings in defendant's absence. Gull conducted critical stage proceedings in chambers outside of the presence of the accused, even though she had ordered him transported and he was available to participate in the in-chambers hearing. Places his attorneys in the ethical dilemma and creating a public record outside the process of the accused. So he was supposed to be in chambers with them when all that went down.
Oh, absolutely.
Judge Gill engaged. Judge, she failed to maintain impartiality and fairness.
That's a big one.
This is what I've been saying now, because since this case has come up and we talked about it a few times, that this is what I mean when I say they have to make a filing and go after the judge. And this is what this filing is. And whether she goes along with it or not, it's not going to matter. Another court's going to have to answer for her. Another one, Judge Gull demonstrated bias towards the prosecutor, demonstrated bias towards the prosecution.
Basically.
Right.
Yeah, she acts like she is God in a sense, for lack of better terms, and does whatever the hell she wants when she wants.
Number 7, she made public misrepresentations on the record.
Another big one. That one right there, just to explain something huge to me. Immediately following the court's planned removal of the defense team, Judge Gall took the bench and addressed all those in attendance, as well as public at large, through the lens of the pool camera, broadcasting the proceedings to the general public. In pertinent part, Judge Gall spoke the words. This is it right here. We've had an unexpected turn of events. Lie. Ladies and gentlemen, earlier this afternoon, the defense attorneys have withdrawn their representation of Mr. Allen. Lie too. That was a forced scenario, folks, and she pretended like it was a surprise to her. This is what I'm saying. It's a joke. Anyway, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Our Judge Gull engaged in ex parte communications. They filed their private appearances on behalf of the defendant and his pro bono attorneys. The next morning, Rossi and Bodley appeared in person in the county as defendant Allen's pro bono attorneys with the ethical and legal duty to carry out their representation. So she screwed up and
they had attorneys.
Their client. They included communication by a text to the judge's chosen replacement attorney. So she communicated with replacement attorneys that she had chosen rather than the lawyers, and that's an ex parte communication.
Yeah, these two right here were actually found to be friends of hers on Facebook that she socialized with on a regular basis. Now, thank God this guy right here, William Labrado, has done interviews since he has been removed and they brought back the original defense team. He's actually standing up for Allen, saying the man's innocent, clearly, blatantly. That's what he says. So, which surprised me, considering he's a friend to her. Moving on, the next one.
So she denied him his Sixth Amendment right to counsel.
Yes.
She changed her ruling in a prior order when attorneys Rossi and Baldwell were reinstated.
Yep.
It's judges all over the place.
She's
a discredit defendant Allen's defense strategy.
100%.
And she committed violations of the Access to the Court Records Act.
And I don't understand how all of these things can they're seen. We're looking at it, so everybody's got to know about it. And there she still sits.
Yeah. Judge, she engaged in additional violations of the Access to Court Records Act. This judge is all the idea this judge can prevail over this stuff is going to be, I find it hard to believe. She failed to address her administrative duties.
Mm-hmm. Changed her ruling in a part. Oh, you're down. You're down here. I'm sorry.
She failed to protect the accused.
You would think in a situation whether any of this is true and accurate or not, right? So there's got to be some truth in it, and you would think just as the taking on the responsibility and ensuring due process and a fair trial, that you would just say, you know what, obviously I'm the wrong person to be the judge for this case. Let's get somebody else up here.
And she won't even think that way.
Yeah, but to do that would require having integrity.
Yeah.
Seems what she doesn't seem to have any at all. Either that or she has so much pride and views herself on such a high level, she can't accept that. And that's pathetic to me. I'm sorry.
Well, here's another thing. Here's a big one. She's treated the prosecution more favorably than the defense. And throughout the entirety of the Franks memorandum, the defense detailed and provided evidence exposing false and or contradictory sworn testimony by law enforcement, and even the withholding of exculpatory evidence by the prosecution. Judge Gall did not have to read too far into the Franks memo to find these intentional acts on the part of the state alleged by the defense, as many of the most egregious intentional behavior of the state is referenced in the first 25 pages. This woman's going to get thrown off of this. It goes in front of another court.
Yeah, everybody
unacceptable extrajudicial activities.
And here's the other thing. I see you, Teresa. I'm just trying to keep up with this, hon. I promise you, I'm watching. She was just appointed the head judge in her county. That's a big one. Like, how? When you're doing things like this, how does that even happen? Now, mind you, not to mention the woman last month or the month before wasn't even going to the courthouse. She was sick. Okay. And was having other judges do her different jobs and different things she needed done, which says to me, like, if you're sick like that, whatever, like, maybe pull yourself back. She wouldn't even do it then. That's what the point is I'm trying to make.
Yep. So they've got time and judicial bias.
I want to know why she is. That's what my question is, Sarge, and everybody. Why is she so dead set on keeping herself on this case? Why? Nobody could have that much pride. There's something else. I feel like it's got to be something else that is making her keep herself here, knowing that this is going to go as far as it's going to go to pull her off of this. Okay. She's made.
I don't know what the judge thinks they're doing or how they think they're going to continue allowed to be doing it, but only time will tell. And that's when you said earlier about my looking at it for constitutionality. These are the kind of arguments that can only be made legally through document filing. That's why I looked and I'm glad I found this, because that's really what the lawyers need to be concentrating on. Clean the slate and then get an expedite. And then you're going to have to want to get a judge applied. And then you're going to ask that judge to expedite this proceeding because your client has been punished.
Did you see this
convicted crime?
Right. Did you see this one? Engaged in unacceptable extrajudicial activities. I mean, she's doing everything and anything that she can wrong. Okay. And still, they're not even blinking an eye at her.
Right.
Timing of judicial bias, prejudice, and lack of impartiality. I mean, it's insane. Every bit of it.
What is her position with the courts there? Does anybody know? I mean, is she a head justice? She
was just appointed the lead judge in the area. There was another way it was put. I'm sorry. There it is. Well, she's a special appointed judge in the DELPHI case but before that, where did it go? She was appointed the head judge in her county. So she has that.
Is she, are they in her county?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yes, I do believe so. If I'm wrong,
so they've just got to go to a court above her that would then have the ability to rule on that county's,
Right. And now that's the other big thing too. Now the prosecution accused the defense of contempt. They brought forth the fact that there were 2 interviews that were just wiped for clean, important interviews. Okay. And they accused, what that was about. And now they're saying that they're held in everything that they do. She has got something, or the prosecution has something to whip it back around. It's insanity.
All right. The case is in Carroll County, and she is an Allen County judge.
I just saw that I was wrong. Carroll County. I get those 2 confused all the time with the documents too when I look at them.
All right, no, that's fine.
Sorry about that. That's why I said if I'm wrong, somebody fix me or correct me, please. So thank you. Um, okay, and the upcoming hearing is the only hearing that she's willing to hear. She doesn't even want to hear the rest of these.
Huh.
I don't see how that's even legal. How she can like.
Well, a judge can make rulings, and their rulings can even color outside the bounds of law. The point is that that's why you have to go somewhere else for relief, and that's what they're trying to do here.
She throws these motions out like they're garbage in the garbage can. And God forbid anybody were to throw out a change of venue, I guarantee you she'd blow up. Guarantee it. So I'm just saying.
I got a judge thrown off a case because he increased the bail to a point that was obnoxious for the charge because I wouldn't stop. You know my mouth. I kept messing with the guy.
I imagine I can.
And he got furious and he said bail at $500,000. I said, well, I guess I'm going to spend the night in your shitty ass town.
Yeah,
but I kept needling.
There's power plays that go down, obviously, and this one is she's having a hell of a power play with this case, and I want to know why. That's the biggest thing right there. What is it that draws her to this and has her stuck to this so bad that she's being the way she is with this? Okay, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's become, from the way I'm seeing this, is it's a personal thing for her now. Okay, it looks like a personal issue for her for whatever reason. And I like, why? What is it? Like, destroying evidence is a huge thing, folks. A huge thing. Okay. And
what did they destroy for evidence? What do we know? And what did they say was destroyed?
These two, the two interviews that just poof, they're gone. They were there and now they've been erased, whatever you want to call it. They're gone.
And the interviews pertain to what?
And it's that guy, Sarge, that we said looks more like
the Brad Holder gentleman.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Patrick Westfall and Brad Holder. Those were two interviews that were done that are just they've disappeared. Well, how can you do that? Is what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense. I got a couple things.
Those interviews. Let me ask. Those interviews, they were interviewed as suspects or witnesses?
Possible suspects, I do believe.
Okay.
Or persons of interest, I should say.
They can rehold those interviews then, right? The defense has to try to,
yeah, they could do it now, but see that's the difference between now and then, and that's important for me, in my opinion, I should say. And it's a joke. Why all of a sudden are they're missing now? You know what I mean? What happened? How does that happen? That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just everything's been handled like a bag of popcorn with this. Things falling out here and over there. If that makes any sense to you guys, it's ridiculous. So it sounds to me, and again, this is me saying it, and it's purely my opinion, okay, and speculation. It seems to me that this woman has a personal venture with this, that she's got some kind of a personal attachment to this, and I want to know what it is. Because, I've seen, pride take people and throw the power out there and this and that, but at this point, with everything that's going on with this, it seems like a personal investment that she's got with this for some reason. So the former sheriff did not tell the former judge about the exculpatory evidence either. So
why did the first judge recuse?
Because he said that they were all in danger, the judge and the people attached to the case, clerks and attorneys and all this other crap. Because of that, people were approaching them and asking questions and bothering them and bugging them. So he had him sent to a prison, and he said it was for his best interest. And then he recused himself, and poof, he's gone. And then she's appointed the special judge in this case, and it's been this shit ever since.
So a judge recused himself because he was afraid of the public? Is that in a nutshell what you just said?
In layman's terms, or basically, yeah. And that's what
where can that info be found on his recusal? I'd like to read that.
Public bloodlust for information, his words. It's in the documents. I read that a couple weeks back too. I showed you guys. Well,
you didn't
you weren't here, but I showed everybody else with this. But yeah, it's documented word for word. His words saying that's what he said.
What a coward! I mean, you're a judge.
Thank you.
uh,
I don't even believe that's what it was.
To be fair, was there not an FBI agent shot too?
After the fact, yeah, there was he was on the FBI task force. So task force. He was a police officer that was killed by a prison guard of all people, Officer Ferenczi. So there's so many of these things attached to this case that make you go, oh, wait a minute. Stop.
Well, the bad guys apparently got their judge in place, right?
That's what it looks like. It sure as hell
Yeah,
looks like that.
sure
But
does.
God forbid you claim something like that, because you know. I'm just saying, you know, and then everybody goes back to this one thing, and I can't stand this. Well, he admitted to doing it. He confessed. I'm not going with that. I don't care. That makes no sense. One of three investigating Odinite. Yeah. There were three officers. I'm sorry.
In fairness, it is a hard fact to overlook.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, in the beginning of this case, everybody kind of blew this whole the real deal case, in my opinion, off, and they just let it go as to what it was. It swept it under the rug, we'll say. Okay, there were three officers that continued investigating it on the, you know, the Odinistic side of things, so on and so forth. One of them lost his life. That says a lot to me. Okay, and then we had somebody else that, remember I had explained where they had brought forth, somebody came out and stole the crime scene photos and put those out, so on and so forth, which in my opinion, I feel prosecution had something to do with. But that's just my opinion. That happened, and they were passed on to a couple of people. One of the people whose hands they went through, he unalived himself. Says something to me. It's deep. It's deep. This is not just some bullshit Idaho stuff like what's going on over there. This is deep, folks, and it's scary in some senses too. Yeah, Mr. Westerman was his last name. So there's a lot of things that are going on here that makes you go, And like I said, that whole confession thing, that doesn't hold any water for me. That's like holding a colander up and dumping a glass of water through it. When you got people threatening you, as I've stated, has been recorded and seen, you're being drugged, your family's being threatened per se, because the first thing this man asks every time he speaks to his attorney, how was my family? How's my wife? How's my kids? I mean, that's what he asks, which gives me a vision of this man being drugged over to a phone with two guards on either side of him and them telling him, do it now. Call your wife and tell her right now. And that's what he did. Okay. They can say that's not what happened, and there's no proof of that, obviously. There's not going to be, but that's what I see in my mind when I think about this. And people can say that would never happen. Okay. And I'm a skinny, attractive man too. Okay. Let's go with that. Anyway, so
one of those things are inaccurate.
There's a lot of deaths around this case. I agree. A lot more than there should be. And that's the other thing too. I've said that before. I'm going to get on to what I'm going to do here, but there's so much of this. Okay. Everything that has gone on with him in the prison where he's been there and now, before and now, I'm sorry. Like anytime he would have an interaction with his attorneys, it was videotaped. That's not legal. The man has no personal privacy for his own, to do that. They watch everything he does. They videotape everything he does, and they don't hide it.
Well, again, this case is not much different than what you're hearing in the Giglio case, where they have 13 years of police corruption prevent anybody from finding the murderer, right? And now they don't know whether to include the wife, not to include the wife. They're arguing not to. The Reed case is all kind of crazy. The Karen Reed case with the involvement of police, right?
There's a lot.
Not for anything, but it's rather suspicious. There's a dead body in front of a cop's house. Okay. You can argue she did it or she didn't do it. I don't care about that. But the whole point is you got a house full of cops and a dead body in their front yard. That's strange.
I agree.
Right? How often do you hear something like that happen?
Not very often.
And with those people were unaware a guest was supposed to show up. They didn't make any attempts or calls to that particular guest who was dead in their front yard. There's a million questions in that case too. And like even in Idaho, some of these questions wouldn't exist if these people just put forward what they have available to show. A lot of questions would go away. A lot of speculation would melt away. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. These cops just won't do that. If they're wrong, they'll never.
The corruption I'm talking about in the title of this, it's way more than just the police. Okay, like this is deep, Sarge. The corruption is deep on this one because the things that are going on. What's that?
What state?
Indiana. I'm sorry.
Okay, Indiana.
So it's deep. That's what I keep saying, and it bugs me. You know, I've talked to a few different people about this, and they're just everybody's like, I can't understand how that's happening, and it's being allowed to be gotten away with, and all that. I said nobody can.
Well, they certainly won't find the killer in this case either, right?
What's that?
They certainly will not find the killer in the case of these two young women, young
Well,
girls, right? That's what it appears like. They've had 5, 6, 7 years. They still haven't found nobody.
I would like to hope that somehow something's going to happen that they can, but at this point, yeah, I can say no. There hasn't been. I don't think it's him. I do not think it's the man that they have in custody. And I think that if there is any involvement, like I've said this a couple of different times, I think it's a very minuscule amount. And he's down at the bottom of this totem pole somewhere. And it's something that he knows or somebody he knows that knows him. And that's how this all ended up in this sense. That's what I think it is. So let me get this rolling because I've been blabbing for too long here.
No.
Shut up.
Cletus.
I get excited about this because, and not in a good way, because there's so much that's going on. And that's why I want so bad for people to see this. Like they look at the Idaho case, as many people that come in here to talk about that, I need to come in here to talk about this because it's that bad to me. So here we go. Let me know how the audio is, guys.
7 years ago today. 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German vanished while walking the Delphi historic trails. Their bodies were found the next day, a quarter mile from where they were last seen on the Monon High Bridge. And for years, their murders remained a tragic mystery that haunted the small town of Delphi, Indiana. But in 2022, police arrested this man, Richard Allen, claiming that an unspent round from his gun tied him to the murders of Abby and Libby. But Allen maintains his innocence. So while the families of those two beautiful girls continue waiting for justice, we're wondering, what do the case forensics tell us? We have two outstanding guests to talk about this. Still with me, forensic death investigator, professor at Jacksonville State University. He's also the host of the Body Bags podcast, Joseph Scott Morgan, still standing by with us. And one of my Court TV colleagues, the brilliant Barbara McDonald. She is a documentary producer here, a journalist for many years who's done great work, especially on the Delphi case, even before you came to join us at Court TV, Barbara, and we were so glad you did. You were hard at work on this case. So if I may start with you in terms of the evidence, what evidence is there that's essentially tying Richard Allen to these crimes?
Well, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence. There are his own statements that he was out at the trails that day. There's some debate about what time he was actually out there and what time he left, which will be significant. But he did say that he was out there that day. Witness statements have described a man who looks similarly to Richard Allen, who was dressed the same way that he says he was dressed that day. I think we have some of the other points we're going to put up on the screen. We also know that some witnesses saw the car that appears to be his car out at the trails that day. And the .40 caliber bullet.
Yes.
The unspent round that was found between the bodies.
Right.
And my understanding is that discovery was made some days after the murder. So when the bodies were found on the 14th of February, 7 years ago tomorrow now, they did secure that crime scene for about 3 days, and they searched it, and then they cleared it for about a day, day and a half, and then they re-secured it. My understanding is that unspent shell was discovered during that second search after the scene had been re-secured.
How is that possible?
Well, it's not impossible,
I understand, but
it is inconvenient. Obviously, it is suspicious.
very, very much so, in my opinion. So just listen close to these parts because this is what blew my mind.
Really? And it was found under the dirt. It wasn't just laying out in the open. It had been somewhat buried, whether intentionally or through time and the elements, we don't know. But that is the bullet that they're saying was ejected or cycled through his pistol that they discovered during the search warrant.
Barbara, thank you for that. Joseph Scott Morgan, I wanted to talk to you about that in particular. What does hearing this information from Barbara now make you think about the securing of the scene, the clearing of it, the resecuring of it, and then the discovery of this round?
Well, the biggest problem with this is the resecuring, because you can't really resecure anything once you've released it. And that's a major problem, because that's any defense attorney worth their salt is going to move forward with that and say, well, how do we know that something wasn't placed down there?
This is what I have a problem with. Before he goes any further, I want to say something real quick here. Okay, this is over for me right here. You have a crime scene. I've been on multiple crime scenes in my career for what I did, okay? Law enforcement comes in. They secure that scene, and I'm just doing this for people that may not understand some of this. They process everything at the scene, they clear the scene, okay, and leave. 3 days later, you come back, you cannot re-secure that same crime scene because it's different in a 3-day period of time. Things are moved. Things can be placed there. Things can be changed there. It's not the same crime scene, so that you can't re-secure it. In a sense, it's another scene altogether at that point, okay? That is my biggest problem with this whole thing right here. That's what I want to say. Now I'll shut up for a while so you can hear him.
In that interim, that kind of vacuum that creates at that moment in time, because the area is completely unsecured, or at least that's what they're saying by their own admission. That's problematic. It's problematic moving forward with the case. And the fact, as my friend Barbara had alluded to, that when they found the round, which I have actually one right here, this is a .40 caliber round right here, unfired. When they found this round, it was beneath the surface of the dirt. So you have to be able to answer this question: how long had it been there? And you look and you see, because this is a brass round, you think about, well, is there corrosion on it? And where's the dirt embedded on this thing? And it can be problematic, really. I mean, it's a significant piece of evidence, but again, if you don't have this cohesion at the scene, that can be problematic.
Right. Professor Jig, you're the best having that round there. And when we think about this, they're saying that it cycled through his pistol, his Sig Sauer, but it wasn't fired from. The markings on it, Professor Joe, those markings would still be there, right? Would they not? Like if he, I guess, maybe racked the gun, or how do you think this might have happened?
Yeah, you've got what are referred to as extractor and ejector marks on actually, if you think about, for lack of a better term, on the fuselage of the projectile itself, or on the body of the thing. And so there are these definitive little marks. And what they're saying is that the firearms examiner, this is a 6-hour platform, by the way, that he had, the brand, when he cycled this thing. And that is, if you've ever seen on television where somebody racks around into a weapon, well, they're not just racking it in. If there's one in the chamber, it's going to go flying out. And that's what happened. But, Julie, those marks on an unspent round on the body of this thing are not as robust scientifically as the ballistic markings that you have on a fired round, the actual projectile. So it's
okay. Additionally, what he's pretty smart. I give him that. But a round that's kicked out of the gun is done with an incredible force, and it would leave undeniable marks. Where when you cycle it through manually, the amount of force applied to the shell, the imprint that's going to be left is not going to be anywhere near the significance of one cycled by firing the gun.
Exactly.
right? The condition of the shell, the color, the patina on the shell, all of that is very, very intuitive, very, very clever. But the rifling of the barrel, it's a different thing. That's a bullet. The
Right.
shell has the rifling has nothing to do with the shell.
Yeah, and
Right? So he's kind of going off a little bit here, but otherwise,
I own many guns too, and I thought about this, and I was thinking. I had a conversation with somebody last night, and as I was thinking about this scenario, there's going to be a whole different. If this was fired through that gun, first of all, that gun is a gun that everybody in the world owns. Police use those. My uncle has 2 of them. My friend has 1 of them. Many people on this planet have that gun. Okay, so he has one too. Big flipping deal. Okay, but here's the thing: is this bullet was found 6 years ago, 5 years ago. Anyway, the point is that's when it was found. I'd like to know what it looked like when it was found. First of all, if it was corroded from being out in the elements, if it was dirty, if all this stuff he was talking about, that's a big thing for me. Or was it fresh, clean, and brand new looking? Because if it was, that's a problem. Now, secondary, 5 years after the fact, okay, they go looking at this gun. They match this to his gun. And I had this conversation with Cleveland Cletus earlier too, and it can go both ways to me. I get it. Some people own guns and they sit in a drawer, on a shelf, in a closet, whatever, for 5 years, never touched. Not in my household. We fire ours as often as we can because I live in an area where I can do that. Not everybody's like that. I understand that. But I'm going to tell you that the chamber and all of that, okay, is going to change in a 5-year period of time to make those markings different than they were the 5 years before that. I can almost promise you that's going to be different. So how do you say that matches perfectly to that gun from 5 years before? That's a huge problem for me. I'm sorry. I just don't think it's going to make sense. It's not going to match as far as I'm concerned. I'm sorry. I can't go with that. And I think that's the biggest bullshit I've ever heard in my life. I highly, highly, highly do not believe this. So I want to say that. And it's unspent. If it was fired through the chamber, through the barrel, out of the gun, we could talk. Okay? We can talk. And it still would have a difference, as it did more of a difference than it did 5 years ago. I get that. But being unspent and just being racked from the gun, no. And that's what they arrested this man with. What? Okay, this is what my issue is. Okay, I'll let him finish. Or was there more that you wanted to add, Sarge?
well, no, you're making a good argument. Now let me just say that doesn't exclude the possibility they can identify it from a particular gun, but it makes it questionable, and that's what
very highly. Yeah,
right.
Right.
They should have experts with access to that bullet, and they should have had experts with access to that bullet. The moment they knew that bullet existed as a way to identify Mr. Allen. It doesn't look like that, to my knowledge, that those lawyers actually did anything with that bullet at this point, have they?
Nothing more than this. It was only a preliminary test. That was it. That's all it was tested on. Nothing more. That's how the result.
But his defense team is supposed to get that evidence and review it with experts, then file motions to suppress.
Right. Yeah.
And so none of that has happened at this point, right?
I'm going to go through I don't believe so. I'm going to go through I know they've argued it, but I'm going to go through the Frank's motion and show some of this stuff to show the other sides of what's going on too. I'm sorry, guys. I get I'm really hyper over this because it really pisses me off that it's that insanely ridiculous and it's still being looked at. As far as I'm concerned, based on what they have, this guy really literally should have been set free months ago, but they're not. And I know how that goes, but I'm just saying it's just complete ridiculous to me. That's all.
Not quite as done as people might think when it comes to an ejected round like that.
Sure. This explainer is so helpful, Professor. Thank you. Barbara, let me go back to you, please, on what might be missing in terms of evidence that's linking him. You really dug deep into this one with Richard Allen. What do you think's missing?
There's a lot. We don't have the murder weapon or weapons. We don't know exactly what was used. They've described it as a sharp-edged weapon, but we don't know if they have that, if that has any evidence contained on it. according to the defense attorneys, there's no DNA of Richard Allen at the crime scene on the girls. There's none of their DNA on him that anybody has put in any of the court filings. We don't know anything about any fingerprints. Apparently there aren't any fingerprints linking him, and there's no hair and fibers linking him to the scene. And then also, some of the theory is that perhaps these girls were catfished and lured out there to be killed. There's no electronic evidence linking him to the girls. They took his cell phones, they took his laptops, his iPads, all of his electronic items, and there's no link to the girls there. So, you know, is there more evidence than what we know about? Probably, hopefully.
Sure.
And when we get to trial, hopefully we'll see all that, but that could be a long ways off.
Right. Barbara, one of the biggest questions I get whenever anyone asks me about this case is, how were those girls murdered? To this.
Yeah, that's true. The DNA that would be out there would be DNA from somebody else that they never have. They don't. There's a whole story behind this with a gentleman by the name of Elvis Fields, with a conversation I talked about 2 months ago about this, and it just it blows my mind that they didn't take him into custody over that kind of shit. But I don't know if you saw that comment, Sarge. The prosecution had ballistic tests done. They did file the motion, and they're trying to get the arrest warrant thrown out and denied. It was denied over what we were just talking about there. So, anyway, sorry about that.
We still don't know how exactly do we.
We do know from some of the filings from the defense attorneys that it was a gruesome.
Sorry?
Huge echo.
Oh, hold on. Let me mute it then. Sorry.
Scene. There were injuries to their necks caused by a sharp-edged weapon, but they have not gone into more detail than that. I do know that, you know, the investigators who were out at the scene who saw these girls out there that day say that it's a scene they're never, ever going to forget. And, you know, just one more note on this anniversary. It is the 7th anniversary. The families want us to remember these beautiful girls, Abby and Libby. They were 13 and 14. Libby would be 21 today. Abby would be turning 21 in June. Huge loss for their families, for their community, and they are absolutely missed. And so we should be putting some of the focus today on them.
That's exactly why we wanted to do this segment, Barbara. Exactly why, because here on this show, it's about the victims. Those girls are what this case is about. We all hope their families get justice, and we send them good thoughts. Thank you both for this discussion. This is very helpful. Professor Joseph Scott Morgan, always great to have your expertise. Thank you kindly. Barbara McDonald, I want you back again and again on this show. And you're busy doing other things here at Court TV, but thank you so much.
I always have time for you.
Okay, and yeah, guys, it's 7 years, the anniversary of their death came up here just the other day, and I didn't even speak on it, and I feel horrible about that. So, you know, it's a horrific thing, you know, in my opinion. These are two little girls that never got to start their life. It was taken from them for no reason whatsoever. None. Nothing would make any sense to say that it was. So, in 7 years, here we are. 7 years. Nothing. And we're seeing this garbage go on. And again, to me, that's not going to give these families any kind of anything, justice, closure, anything. The victims are not getting any kind of justice, true justice, as they should. It's disgusting to me. So after 7 years, you know, I hope that they're resting in heaven, and God bless them both. That's all I can say, and their families. So as far as that goes, I'm going to move forward though, and I want to bring up this. I wanted to bring this up before, and I didn't have it. It took me a while to find it. As soon as I can get my mail to work. Sorry. 1 second. And hold on. And thank you guys for being here and hearing this. For those of you that know about it, I appreciate you guys supporting this and making this known. Okay. And for those of you that don't know about it or are just learning about it, I appreciate the fact that you're taking the time to listen to this and to hear this, because it's It's one of the most compelling things I've ever seen in my life. It's insane, guys. It's obscene. Okay, so this is what they're calling. It's not a person. Some people ask me that. Who's Frank? Frank's not a person. It's a motion based on you know how these things go. When something happens, they name it after something. That's what this is. That's why. So this is the Frank's motion, okay? And this explains a lot of things in it that you guys need to know about this if you don't know. I'm gonna go through, and it's a lot. Bear with me. I may break this up in a couple days. I'm not gonna read every single thing to you. I'm just gonna give the big parts of it that are important through so that it's understandable. At that point. So comes now the accused Richard Allen by and through counsel Andrew J. Baldwin and Brad Rosie, and files his request for this court to set a Frank's hearing. In support of said motion, defense counsel states the following. On October 13th of 2022, the following a roughly hour and a half interview with the accused Richard Allen, Detective Tony Liggett signed an affidavit for search warrant, which was a 5-page document detailing information concerning said interview with Rick Allen, as well as information flowing from a 5.5-year investigation into the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. The affidavit for search warrant was also approved by second signatory prosecutor Nicholas McClellan before being sent to Judge Benjamin Diener for further review. That was the first judge that recused himself, guys. Okay, so here we are. The purpose of said affidavit for search warrant was to provide a sworn statement containing information from that lengthy investigation that would convince Judge Benjamin Diener that a reasonable belief existed that evidence of said murder would be found in Richard Allen's home and vehicles. So it was reviewed by Judge Diener, who then signed the search warrant for Allen's home and vehicles at 6:37 p.m. on October 13th of 2023. That on its face and within 4 corners of the document, the affidavit for search warrant was defective in that it did not provide the type of information that would cause any reasonable person to believe that it was more likely than not the evidence of the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German that would be found in Rick Allen's home or vehicles, especially more than 5 years after they were murdered. Now here's the thing, folks. If anybody's smart enough to go do what this person did, if you let me just bring this out. If you have a coat that you wore that day, knowing that you wore that coat that day, are you going to keep it for 5 years? Are you going to burn it or throw it away or do something else with it?
Is the date there right? They got this search warrant on October 13th of 2023.
I believe so, yes.
And they arrested him in 2022.
Said motion 22, sorry.
Okay, so it's a typo in point number 4. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry. 22. My apologies. I looked at it twice. So okay. But like I said, if you did something like this, are you going to keep anything you had on you that day? No. If you have any kind of intelligence, at least you're not. You're going to burn these things. You're going to get rid of these things. That's going to be the end of it. So the man had the same coat.
Well, can I just say though something too that's kind of really bothering me is there was a mention that there was no blood at the scene of where the bodies were found and they had been stabbed.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So my question would be, why would anybody cycle a handgun when they're moving a dead body?
The thought was behind that was that it was possibly their thought, I should say, racked to threaten the girls to scare them into doing what they were.
Wait. But the one where one girl is being said to have been bled out, but there was no blood.
That's why I've stated
wait. My point is, if the person is bled out and there's no blood at the scene, that indicates the bodies were placed there, right?
Right.
So how would a round being racked through a gun apply to that particular behavior? If you're placing deceased bodies somewhere to hide a crime, why would your gun even be a part of that?
Because they're claiming
already dead.
They're claiming that that's the crime scene. Okay. I
Even-
never
All right.
felt that was the crime scene. That was just the staging scene as far as I'm concerned. So you're right. It doesn't fit. Okay. I get that. That's what I'm saying. There's two scenes as far as I'm concerned. There's the one where they were actually killed, and then they were placed there and staged there in that specific position. So, right, that bullet thing doesn't make any sense. I get that. 100%. I get that. And like I said, like it was used to control them. In my opinion, that should be, if they could ever find the original crime scene where the actual crimes took effect. Okay, that's where all the actual true evidence probably is, if it's there. But that's never been brought to attention, as far as I know. This is what they're calling the crime scene. This is, to me, is a staging scene. It's not a crime scene. So,
Okay. All right. We don't know if her blood was actually all gone or not. There's no document to that. Is that just what people are saying? There's another rumor, or is it?
Oh no,
based?
the one body was bled out completely. Okay.
How do we know this though?
Because of the autopsy, there was no blood in her body. The other girl wasn't like that, but this one was. But there was no blood at the scene where she was found, so that makes no sense, does it?
No.
There you go. And there is no secondary crime scene. Thank you, Salty. As far as law enforcement's concerned, there is not one. How is that possible when there's not one drop of blood there?
And they were stabbed. They weren't shot. They were stabbed. Correct?
Right. Yes, they were.
When they issued a search warrant, were they looking for blades in that warrant? Did they find any knives? Did they produce any knives that would be similar to the wounds that were inflicted upon the victims?
Not that I've seen, no.
Okay. So they found the bullet. They weren't even shot, these kids.
No, not at all. Not at all.
In a proper course of proceedings, this should have been thrown out a long time ago.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. And the one thing is, there isn't any rumor in this. I'll tell you that, like there was in Idaho. This has all been factual based shit that we've seen that's been right in front of us the whole time. It's all here. It's just been ignored. Okay. So there's that. He did have knives, Teresa. That's true, but nothing that matches up to anything here is what I'm saying. Okay. It's insane. It's absolutely insane to me. Okay. Now, where was I? Because on its face, the four corners of the affidavit for search warrant, no reasonable person would believe it was more than likely not that evidence of the murders. Okay, I did read that. In home or vehicle, Judge Diener erred in citing said search warrant. Therefore, any search of Rick's home, and vehicles was illegal. Therefore, all items seized pursuant to said legal search should be suppressed. However, making matters far worse, Detective Tony Liggett, this guy lied, by the way, chose to hide crucial information from the search warrant affidavit and provided false statements in said search warrant affidavit. Here we go. It starts with the corruption, okay? The defense is required to make a substantial preliminary showing that omitted or false statements were made knowingly or intentionally or with reckless disregard, and if the trial court concludes that said omitted facts or false statements were necessary for the findings of probable cause, then the trial court should set a hearing on the defendant's request, Franks versus Delaware, which is where this came from. Furthermore, Indiana courts have held that when material information is omitted from a probable cause affidavit, such omissions will invalidate a warrant. The police omitted facts with the intent to make the affidavit misleading or with reckless disregard, for whether it would be misleading. And two, the affidavit supplemented with the omitted information would have been insufficient to submit a finding of probable cause. Rather than hiding said information from Judge Diener, had Liggett actually included said information within the affidavit for a search warrant, then Judge Diener most certainly would not have signed said warrant, as the hidden and false information was the type of information that any reasonable person would have known was the kind of thing the judge would wish to know. Okay? So there's that right off the get that is just like, what? That's just no.
And we don't know what information. What information are we aware of that they withheld or lied about?
Um,
Obtained a warrant. Is there
well,
any
as I-
information to indicate what they're accusing the cop of crime?
well, he did. Yeah. As we get down through here, it explains more of it. Hold on a minute here. And like I said, I don't want to have to read this all, but I will because there's a lot of details that are important in here.
The 2 interviews, according to one person.
Yeah, she said, I was going to say that. She says the 2 interviews that were okay.
But those interviews may not even those interviews may have nothing to do with this man's arrest. They weren't used. They didn't bring those interviews up to get a warrant against the guy, right? Those interviews weren't used in any legal proceeding to accuse Richard Allen. Or am I wrong?
All right. Well, no, she's saying there's so much, which there is, and I have to read a lot of it. Just let me get to it to find, unless you just want to read this on your own.
Oh, send me, put a link in the
I can send it to you to read because I know sometimes it's better for you to read things, but I'm going to go through this anyway, and I'll send you the link and you can go to town with it.
No, I'm not missing a true crime. I'm pointing out what people mentioned in the chat room. And I know there's an issue with recordings that are missing, but I'm pointing out that from what we've seen so far, those recordings have nothing to do with asking a warrant to arrest this guy.
The things that he chose to hide, the crucial information he chose to hide from the search warrant affidavit is what you're asking for. And the false.
I'd like to know, right. It's more than just 2 missing interviews.
Well, yeah, that's like I said, I got to go down through here more. And
I'll read it tonight or tomorrow morning. And it's not like this can't, it's a good case that should be looked at. Public should be aware of what appears at this point to be malfeasance by the state, which is so common in our systems. It's just sickening.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot. And they held out a lot in the arrest warrant, which in turn, it states in layman's terms that if the judge would have known all the information, he'd have never signed the search warrant. In turn, this would have never happened. Okay. So why? That's the question is to this. Why did they do this? Why did they have to lie and withhold information to have this man arrested? What is the whole basis behind all that stuff is what I'm saying. And that's what this is about. So,
well, we don't need to know why the cop did it. I mean, that's neither here nor there. We need to know what the cop did. They're making strong accusations against what this cop did or police force.
Well, you may not need to know why. I want to know why he did this because it states something else that it shows something. And as far as the corruption goes, is this the whole reason why they did this is to put this man in the spotlight to have him take the fall for this? Or is it because the other people that maybe have been involved as well are being protected? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Is that why this was done? And it all goes back to the same thing. It's just the same. It's a bunch of bullshit anyway. So hold on a minute here.
Yeah, I want to block somebody in the chat.
I'm going to give you the link to read this yourself and to break it down for yourself. To think what you.
Yeah, I was being distracted by your chat room, so I had to block somebody's comments.
Okay, let me get to something here, and then I'll.
Yeah, just give me a link in the private chat, and then we, I'll go over it, and then we can talk about, we talk in the morning and afternoons usually, and it won't be hard to get me up to speed.
That's fine, and I'm trying to find something real quick, and I can't do 2 at the same time. So hold on a second. Hold on. Okay, let me do something here because the rest of this, you guys, that's the part I really wanted you to know. That's the main part of this. Is that's how that happened. Okay. For those of you that didn't know that, I'm sure a lot of you guys did.
Well, I'm not sure how many people even knew there was an official filing to get that judge removed, which is what I said at the Supreme Court hearing. If you remember,
a lot of people. Yeah,
and I said that means nothing because the Supreme Court really wasn't presented with that question. It was there, but not legally filed directly. And now there is a legal filing directly asking for this judge to go away.
Okay, hold on. Let me move this down here in 1 second, guys. There's more other. 1 second. Okay. Back up to this. Wait, what the hell? There it is. Memorandum in support of. Okay. This is the other side of this I'm going to read. And then, like I said, the rest of it, I'm going to link and send to you because most everybody that follows this is already familiar with this. There's a few people in here that aren't, but come on, work with me here. Oh my God. 1 minute here. Okay, this is the other side of it. I'm going to read the memorandum on this side of it, and then I have more stuff to give to you. This is just the basics of it to condense it. All right, so because the facts in this memorandum are dense for anyone not yet completely familiar with this case, the defense is providing this introductory section similar to the syllabus that often precedes a long and complex U.S. Supreme Court opinion. The purpose of this introductory section is to provide the court a general understanding of what to expect concerning the facts upon which defense will be relying, and how those facts impact the legal arguments before providing necessary detail, minutia, and notation to the record that could bog down the court as it attempts to unpack the defense arguments. The defense, therefore, will provide little attribution as to the source of the evidence in this introductory section, but will then provide proper attribution to the sources of the evidence throughout the body of the memorandum following the introduction. Now, there's a lot to this, guys. A whole lot, okay? And here, it's got the table of contents, this, that, and everything else. So if you guys haven't looked at this personally yourselves, you should. And this is what I'll be sending you to, all right?
All right.
Now, these things I am going to read to you real quick, and then we're going to move forward, because these are the important things, okay? 8 things to know. Number 1, the members of a pagan Norse religion called Odinism, hijacked by white nationalists, ritualistically sacrificed Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Well, this is all alleged, folks, okay? That's how this goes with the court proceedings. Number 2, very clearly on, those in charge of the Delphi murder investigation claim that they consulted with a Purdue professor concerning what resembled possible Odinism signatures left behind at the crime scene, after the Purdue professor proclaimed, according to State Trooper Jerry Holman, that it was not Odinism or any type of cult worshiping or any type of group that would have conducted the crime. The Odinism angle was essentially abandoned. However, as of September 7th of 2023, leaders of the Delphi investigation team claimed that they can't identify who this purported professor was. Now, see, that was a problem. Supposedly, this professor was just disappeared, okay? Nobody could find him. Nobody could verify any of this or clarify any of this. And then they found him again, okay? So, anyway. 2, they have provided no reports from this purported professor. And 3, have further indicated that they may never be able to figure out who this professor is, based in large part upon this mystery Purdue professor's opinion. The Delphi investigative leadership claimed, hold on, I don't know why that blew up like that. I can't see you guys over here. 1 second. There we go. 1 second here. Where did I go? Blah, 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 claimed that it essentially abandoned considering Odinite involvement in the murders, and then the years passed. 2018, 19, 20, 21, and 22. Thankfully, during those passing years, law enforcement officers Kevin Murphy, Greg Ferenczi, remember that name, Greg Ferenczi, and Todd Click continued to pursue the truth. Because of their curiosity and investigative efforts, the evidence establishing the names of the likely murdering members of this Odinite cult became known to the Delphi investigative leadership. Then, no later than February of 2018, due to incompetence or a concerted intentionality, remember that, concerted intentionality, those in charge of the investigation refused to arrest or even properly investigate these obvious suspects. Corruption. Number 3, on May 1st of 2023, the state of Indiana, by way of prosecutor Nick McClellan, received a letter from former Rushville Assistant Police Chief Todd Click now retired. As stated in the previous paragraph, Click, Murphy, and Ferenczi were three of the law enforcement officers who worked on the Delphi murder case, particularly focused on the Odinite angle as it intersected with suspects in Rushville, Indiana. After reading Richard Allen's probable cause affidavit, Click became concerned that the information contained in Richard Allen's affidavit pointing the finger at Richard Allen was far less compelling than the totality of the information that Detective Ferenczi, Detective Murphy, and Officer Click had accumulated during the Rushville portion of the investigation. The information that Murphy, Ferenczi, and Click had gathered during their investigation connected men who practiced Odinism in or near Delphi with another group of men who lived in Rushville, and then connected both groups of men to the murders. Click was concerned that for some reason, the leadership of the investigative team had failed to share with Prosecutor McClellan the evidence gathered by Click, Ferenczi, and Murphy. Click's concerns led him to seek out a lawyer to assist him in the drafting of a letter. This letter was then sent to McClellan. This letter was not provided to the defense until after it was obvious from the last round of depositions that the defense, who had doggedly pursued witnesses as far away as Georgia, would certainly be talking with Todd Click. McClellan had this letter in his possession for over 4 months before turning it over to the defense. That's wrong, okay? There can be no mistaking that this letter is exculpatory in nature and could have been used by the defense as it prepared for upcoming depositions. However, it is apparent that McClellan only offered up the letter after it was obvious that the defense team would soon be learning of the letter's existence. In other words, the defense team would obviously be meeting with or deposing Click in the next few weeks. At that time, Click most certainly would then reveal to the defense that in April of 23, he had sent a letter containing exculpatory information to McClellan. At this point, McClellan had two distinct choices. One, sit on the exculpatory evidence, hoping that the defense team would refocus its efforts on another angle, or two, disclose the exculpatory evidence, claiming that the contents of the letter were overlooked in the volume of discovery. He chose the latter. Unfortunately for the state, neither approach explains away the fact that Click specifically directed the letter to McClellan himself, and further, Click was also determined to ensure that his information was consumed by McClellan, that he directed the information directly to McClellan via certified mail. The letter is stamped received May 1st, 2023. Carroll County Prosecutor. Click's report landed at Ground Zero, a prosecutor's office with no more than 2 full-time prosecutors and a handful of full-time staff members at best. Could this exculpatory evidence have been completely overlooked? Definitely not plausible. Not only did the prosecution withhold that letter from the defense, but the law enforcement also withheld several other exculpatory pieces of evidence, including an 85-page compilation of reports by Click prepared in 2019, and several videos containing statements that support the defense theory of Richard Allen's innocence. This 85-page report detailed the investigative work performed by Click, Ferenczi, Murphy, and others, including the FBI. According to the summary of Click's investigation that he attached with his letter, the Behavioral Analysis Unit of the FBI determined that the individual responsible for the homicides were involved in Nordic beliefs. This was news to the defense, meaning they had no idea about that, obviously, and that is why all this shit came to be when it did. As no member of the Unified Command in charge of the investigation revealed this information to the defense during recent depositions. This includes Trooper Holman, who told the defense that he didn't remember if the FBI's BAU unit determined one way or another whether those with Nordic beliefs had been involved in the murders. At least up until the time of this filing, the prosecution has provided no evidence whatsoever of the findings of the FBI's BAU unit. Concerning involvement of Odinists in the murders, none. The letter that Click sent to McClellan was the first that the defense had heard of the FBI actually believed that Odinists were likely involved. In other words, this report contained exculpatory evidence that Unified Command concealed from the defense. This information was and is crucial for Richard Allen's defense. Some of this exculpatory evidence in the form of videos was finally released to the defense on September 8th of 2023, 9 months after the defense counsel entered their appearance. 9 months, folks. 9 months. It's insane. So the defense is still reviewing this September 8th evidence dump. In the brief time that defense has had to review this newly received evidence, it has found exculpatory evidence both in the videos and defense has watched and the documents that the defense has reviewed. While the prosecution has been holding on to this exculpatory evidence, Richard Allen has been living in hell. These are facts, guys. So, lastly, the evidence will show that the week of August 28th of 23, Prosecutor McClellan and State Trooper Jerry Holman requested a meeting with Todd Click, and by this time, the defense team had taken several depositions, including Holman, Liggett, and Lisenby. I can never say that right. I think it's Zenby. And the prosecution and defense investigative leadership now knew that for a while, the defense team had been aware of the Odinist evidence. At least the evidence in the prosecution turned over to the defense, scattered throughout multiple hard drives and many flash drives. The prosecution had learned in early August that the defense had figured out the strong Odinist ties to the crimes. Despite the apparent attempts of the prosecution, Liggett and Holman to hide this exculpatory evidence from the defense. Wanting to allay his fears and that an innocent man was sitting in Westville, Click agreed to attend the meeting with Holman, hoping that he would be learning that evidence did in fact exist, linking Richard Allen to the murders. Click's hopes were dashed. Paragraph 17 of Click's affidavit. Upon directing the letter to Mr. McClellan, I heard nothing from the prosecutor's office or any other members of Unified Command until I received phone calls on the 23rd of August and 25th, 2023, which involved brief discussions regarding scheduling. During these phone calls, it was requested that I meet with enforcement officials intended to sit down with me and discuss with me the reason why Richard Allen was responsible for these crimes. I was told that he, Jerry Holman, wanted to put my mind at ease. However, during the meeting with Detective Holman and a second detective whose name I am unfamiliar with, there was no discussion or offering as to why they believed Richard Allen was guilty of the charged crimes. I believe the interview was an attempt by them to clean up their loose ends. Knowing that they had given very little, if any, attention to the investigative efforts of myself, Detective Ferenczi, and Detective Murphy, and underneath it says emphasis added. Number 4, not only did Carroll County Sheriff Tony Liggett fail to include all this Odinite information in his October 13, 22 affidavit for search warrant, and not only did McClellan and the Unified Command withhold exculpatory evidence, Liggett also concealed damaging witness statements that devastate Liggett's timeline. A timeline Liggett needed to be true in order to place Richard Allen at the trail when Abby and Libby were abducted. Additionally, Liggett lied in his affidavit about the statements of another key witness, further devastating Liggett's timeline. Number 5, Richard Allen has zero connections to any pagan cultists, and furthermore, no forensic evidence such as DNA or electronic evidence links Richard Allen to the girls or to the crime scene, i.e., he is a completely innocent man. Number 6, most of the evidence backing these assertions was found scattered over no less than 10 hard drives and several flash drives provided by the prosecution, meaning that the defense is not making wild accusations, but rather primarily relaying facts and information that is backed up by the prosecutor's own discovery. Even discovery that the prosecution just provided to the defense as late as September 8th, 2023. Let me see here. Let me see. Number 7, not coincidentally, members Odinists of this same pagan cult are employed as corrections officers for the Indiana Department of Corrections at Westville Correctional Facility. It is inside of the cold concrete walls of the maximum security unit of this dilapidated reformatory that Richard Allen is being threatened, intimidated, and mentally abused. Number 8, throughout this document, references are made to the Unified Command. Essentially, the Unified Command was the leadership of the Delphi murder investigation. According to Tony Liggett, Carroll County Sheriff, and member of the Unified Command. When the investigation began, Unified Command consisted of law enforcement from a variety of entities, local, state, and federal. Unified Command were overseers of the entire investigative operation. And coming from Carroll County themselves was Tony Liggett and Kevin Hammond. From the state police, Jerry Holman, Jay Harper, and Dave Beto. From the FBI was Rich Davies. Now, the Odinism, Odinites, and runes. Odinism is a pagan religion referenced above, and its followers are called Odinites. Odinites are enamored of Viking Nordic culture. Evidence supports that at the crime scene, these murdering Odinites left behind obvious signatures, symbols in the form of runes. These runes were, number 1, formed with sticks, 2, fastened with tree branches, and 3, painted using the blood of Liberty German. So when I had showed those videos of I think you saw some of that stuff, Sarge, and I know Clue saw it, of the girls laying there, and they had those sticks laying on top of them, the F-looking thing that was painted on the tree behind them. That's what that's referring to. Sticks and tree branches were deliberately, carefully, and proficiently placed on each girl in a certain arrangement, mimicking certain runes. At least one of the branches appeared to have its end cut off cleanly by some type of a tool like an electric saw, providing proof of a preconceived plan. Additionally, the blood of Liberty German was used as the paint to mark a tree with a rune that looks similar to an F. With a simple Google search, these runes would be identifiable as one of the many calling cards of this pagan religious cult. Yet, law enforcement in charge of the Delphi investigation seemingly and quickly abandoned the obvious correlation between the crime scene and Odinism, despite an obscene amount of evidence linking Odinism to the crime scene. So, one second. Okay, so real quick here. Although State Police Superintendent Doug Carter pulled the plug and kicked the FBI off the Delphi murder case around 21 over some conflicts, according to Jerry Holman, deposition pages 123 and 30. Interestingly, Tony Liggett, who was deposed before Holman, claimed under oath that Doug Carter was not involved in making decisions for the case. Furthermore, he, which would be Liggett, claimed to be unaware that the FBI was even kicked out, let alone that any agency had actually kicked out the FBI from investigating the Delphi case. It is quite odd that the salient topic of Doug Carter kicking the FBI off the Delphi case would never have been discussed between Liggett and Holman, who were working so closely with one another in Unified Command. If that can be believed, it would be quite perplexing. Okay, so moving down. And even in spite of powerful evidence linking specific Odinites in and around Indiana to the murders. Also, the court will learn in his affidavit for search warrants that Sheriff Liggett failed to inform Judge Diener that nothing, and absolutely nothing, links Richard Allen to the Odinism or any religious cult. Also, no forensics, such as DNA, no electronic data extracted from his computers or phones, or from his social media links Richard Allen to the crime scene. Additionally, nothing links Richard Allen to any of the Odinite suspects. The same Odinite suspects that evidence strongly supports sacrificed Abby and Libby in some sort of pagan ritual. Richard Allen had nothing to do with this crime, but rather is an innocent man, a patsy for the police, arrested 26 days before an election. Failure to pursue the Odinistic links. Law enforcement's failure to actively pursue the obvious links between the crime scene and Odinism is confounding. It is even more confounding when the days and weeks after the murders, hold on a second, guys. A particular Odenite from Logansport named Brad Holder posted on social media images mimicking the very runes found at the crime scene. A crime scene unreleased and unknown to the general public, even to this day. Who was Brad Holder? He was an Odenite whose son Logan had been dating Abby. Brad Holder's social media posts seemingly taunted the very police that refused to fully investigate him. The defense believes that the court will be shocked by the number of clues or Easter eggs before and after the murders that Holder openly posted on his Facebook page that pointed the finger to his involvement in the murders. So, okay, guys, give me about 30 seconds and I will be right back to finish this.
Cletus,
Pops.
let's hear that voice. Start reading that paper while he's gone. Come on.
I can't right now. I can't breathe through my nose.
Oh, yeah, you need that snozzer to work. Cool. How you feeling?
I'm on the struggle bus, but
The struggle bus.
as you can tell, I don't have a lot of energy tonight. Like, I'm not even in the chat. I'm like,
Man.
and Dago's making me want to go to sleep.
The thing I'm confused about with this is the exculpatory aspect of the Odinism, because they're saying that they failed to turn over exculpatory evidence, but it sounds like what it's more a situation of is that they didn't tell them what they had put together based on the evidence that existed, which I don't really know how I feel about, right? Like it's kind of like handing over 51 terabytes of, we'll just say, camera footage and saying everything we used was in there. I mean, I kind of feel like that's fair game.
Yeah. They completely ignored the FBI report, though. Completely.
I'm a little confused on how anyone kicks the FBI off of a case.
It's a state case. They don't. It's a state case. There's no federal law broken or jurisdictional issue for them to override the state.
Why would you want to do that, though?
Well, we don't know why they did it, but the FBI just can't come in unless that connects to a case across the state line, or
Well,
there's some other federal connection. They just can't come into any police department and grab one of your cases and take it.
Oh, well, right.
And if they do get involved, you can end that involvement. They come in as their helpers, their outside agency with assistance.
That's what they did, because it seems to me like they didn't want anybody else that wasn't in that circle to be involved, to be able to see. Okay, and that alone is criminal.
Necessarily that report isn't necessarily exculpatory.
What's that, hon? Or were you not talking to me? I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to figure out what Cletus was talking about, whether he said that.
So they're basically claiming that the prosecution failed to turn over the evidence about the Odinism. Well, I mean, is that really the truth, or is it that they didn't tell them that the evidence that they gave them indicates Odinism?
They buried.
Because I mean,
go ahead.
Because I mean, if you handed me a picture of these two bodies with these limbs on them, it's up to me to interpret, and for my client, I would think to say, hey, these are Odinistic runes. I need to use this and pursue this. It wouldn't be the prosecution's job to say, here's our evidence and here's a possible defense for your client that we didn't investigate.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
Well, I don't know if you guys even knew, but like the crime scene itself, they didn't collect all that shit. Okay. They just kind of like brushed all them sticks off to the side for however long and then came back a while later and collected things. I mean, at that point, it was not important, obviously, whether I'm never going to go there with that. It just seems like it was all done on purpose to me. It really does. I'm sorry, but why would you not collect all that and take that in? They didn't
You know,
do.
I agree with that 100%. That whatever's at the crime scene is the crime scene. It should be completely mapped, drawn, photographed, videoed, and
Yep.
then and only then can them be moved. But they should be then taken into custody because though wood will hold samples of DNA.
Mhm.
Right. So if in fact those branches were placed, and you would consider that, maybe it wouldn't be the first thing you would investigate, but it should be something you consider and have on a list of things to do, right? Like on
Well,
that list of when
Yeah,
you get round to it.
they brushed it off, and after they cleared that crime scene that they resecured, which is bullshit. I'm sorry. Then they come back and do this and do that with it. Well, how many people touched and broke that and stepped on that, and birds that shit on that, and this and that, and rain and all that other stuff? I mean, are you serious?
Yeah,
That's what I mean. Like, it's insane. I've never heard of
going
anything.
back to a crime scene and resecuring it is, you know, that's like in Idaho where they send another guy in to do a 3D image of the house a year later.
Right. Like I said, and that's how they went back that 3-4 days later. They found that
Yeah.
bullet that was under the ground, and it's like, what? Come on. This is all stupid. They knew Odinism was involved. They questioned Westfall and Holder 4 days after the murders, those 2 interviews that were deleted, and they never took that evidence, all the evidence from the
Were
crime
those
scene.
2 men known? Were they known to be Odinists? Those 2 individuals?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
That's Sarge. That's the guy that we saw. The one that.
Yeah.
That one with the
and
goatee
his
and the
son.
culprit hat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I remember the pictures we did in Discord. So those guys are known Odinists.
Yes.
And they were questioned, and conveniently their information vanished.
Conveniently, yes. And there was another comment made in here about that Brad Holder guy being a Mason with the prosecutor that's a Mason. Okay. So just saying, guys. This highly irritates me so bad. I get so worked up over this. But anyway.
Really?
What's that?
No. Say it.
You hide it well.
Anyway.
Just messing with you, Dago.
I know, that's why I smiled. Where was I?
Pretty good when she's sick. She's still got the sense to do it.
Yes, that's just who she is.
Right.
That's what's fun about her. However, a fact that is simply mind-blowing to the defense is that, and this is that guy we're talking about, Sarge, the one those pictures. Brad Holder was never considered a suspect in the murders of Abby and Libby. State Trooper Jerry Holman, one of the law enforcement officers in charge of organizing and investigating the Delphi murders, claimed in his August 10th, 2023 deposition that Brad Holder was not really ever a suspect. Police reports written near the time of the murders reveal that Jerry Holman is telling the truth. Brad Holder was cleared as a suspect very quickly on March 16th of 2017. On March 1st, 2017, Tony Liggett stated in a report that there were no leads required concerning Brad Holder, meaning that it was not necessary for law enforcement to continue to look for leads related to Brad Holder. Liggett made that determination a mere 15 days after the girls were murdered. By March 16th of 2023, Unified Command member Kevin Hammond wrote that Brad Holder has been cleared. 15 days. That's crazy to me. I'm sorry. Anyway, the girls hadn't been dead for 30 days, and Unified Command had already cleared Brad Holder as a suspect. Unified Command had already cleared Holder as a suspect within 30 days, knowing that Brad Holder's son dated Abby. Unified Command had already cleared Holder as a suspect within 30 days of the murders, although a simple review of Brad Holder's Facebook page would show that he was a proud Odinite that had an absolute obsession and fascination with runes. Police knew or had to know that runes had been left at the crime scene. Additionally, Unified Command had already cleared Holder as a suspect in spite of the fact that runes found on Brad Holder's Facebook page mimicked runes found at the crime scene. That has not been released to the public. Meaning the man had the same runes on his Facebook that were at the crime scene. Nobody saw the crime scene except for obviously the people that staged it. Okay, and the police.
Right.
Released to the public. The investigation had barely begun, but the Unified Command had already cleared that very man. that any person with even a small amount of common sense or curiosity would believe was a strong candidate for being involved in the murder of the girls. For example, the court will also learn that the Unified Command was aware of a very disturbing image of Brad on Brad Holder's social media accounts that actually mimicked the crime scene. On April 12th, 2017, Trooper Joseph Ryan Winters received a phone call from a man in Georgia named Ryan Boucher, whatever, who had discovered disturbing images in Brad Holder's social media account. Having somehow learned that Brad Holder's son Logan had dated Abby Williams, Mr. Boucher began reviewing Brad Holder's social media history. One of the images Boucher viewed on Brad Holder's social media account was an image of two women either dead or posed as if they were dead on the ground in what appeared to be a forest. Both women had tree limbs and sticks arranged on their bodies. One of the women had her arms stretched out above her head, similar to the way that Libby's arm was stretched above her head. Both women were clothed, and the stick and tree branch formations on these girls was different than the stick and tree branch formations on Abby and Libby. But otherwise, it bore a very eerie similarity to the murder scene in Delphi. Ryan Boucher had no knowledge of the actual crime scene. However, after reviewing Brad Holder's social media sites, Boucher was disturbed at that image, as well as other images that provided insight into Brad Holder's fascination with rooms. Believing that the disturbing images may be something of interest to those investigating the Delphi murders, Mr. Boucher contacted Toby Lesenby, who at that time was the sheriff of Carroll County. Lesenby quickly rebuffed Boucher, telling Boucher that Holder was not a suspect. Undeterred, Mr. Boucher contacted the state police, where he ended up talking to Trooper Joseph Ryan Winters. After their conversation, Winters memorialized the interaction and placed the images provided by Boucher into a Dropbox account. After creating the report, Winters then discussed his findings face-to-face with Jerry Holman of Unified Command.
I have a question.
Yes, sorry. Go ahead.
So that guy, Boucher or whatever, reported the post, right, that he saw to the police.
Yeah. Boucher.
Why would he think that would be indicative of anything if the public hadn't known about the way the girls were arranged?
Right. What involvement did he have in a case to be aware of that?
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's weird.
I don't know who he is. I'm guessing that he maybe was like us or something and was kind of like going through different things and looking at different people possibly. And if anybody does know the answer to this question, I would love it, because I don't know. Maybe it's going to explain it more down here. I don't know. But anyway, when he saw that stuff, that's what made him think, this isn't right, whatever, for whatever reason. That is a good question. How did he know that, that should be a problem?
Unless this was done a significant time after, when that information had been known to the public, and this guy happened to go through his Facebook and realize somewhere back in time, this Facebook post was there.
I think it was initially, Salty said it was after Brad Holder was initially looked at. So his name was out there, initially, and people were going back and looking at him, checking out his Facebook, and said, hey, this is wrong. This is not right. You guys need to see this type thing. Maybe that's why. But it came after the fact that the first time he was initially looked into, and they said, hey, he's not a suspect. Yeah, don't look at him. So that explains that. Thank you, Salty. I did not know the answer to that. And that is Boucher, isn't it, Clue?
And that's how I would say it, but I can't pronounce shit, so.
Probably right.
Bobby Boucher.
Yeah, right.
It's Bobby Boucher.
I don't stand as you wrong.
He's the devil.
It should be noted that the disturbing images found by Boucher in Georgia and placed in the Dropbox by Winters were not, and still not, and have still not been provided to the defense. In his recent deposition, Winters said that he had attempted to locate the images but was unable. However, because of the potential importance of those images to Richard Allen's case, the defense team located Boucher and then traveled to Georgia to meet with Boucher. Those images are now in possession of Richard's defense team, who then provided those images to law enforcement. So again, this was given to law enforcement, was put in a Dropbox, and then They're gone again. Okay. Every time something is handed over to law enforcement that points away from Allen and his defense, it disappears. It's overlooked. It disappears. It's
Yeah.
destroyed. It every time. Every time. It's amazing to me. Conveniently, but anyway.
Is this the first man ever charged in the crime?
Oh yeah. This
Yeah,
is the
yeah, okay. So another group of cops that got to hide something, so they're focusing on this guy and excluding information that's exculpatory to him.
well. There's the thing is with this one though. In my mind, there's a reason. There's some kind of a connection and a reason why this is happening like this. They completely denied anything that pointed to Odinism long before he was even arrested, actually. So yeah, what's that?
In my opinion, it's kind of like, wouldn't it be fair to say that anytime the police cover something, there's a reason?
Oh yeah. I mean, to me, just like what I feel like with the judge and all these other people involved, it's a personal thing. And knowing the fact that Brad Holder is a Mason with his brother, the prosecutor, I mean, these people are grouped together in some settings. If you look at it, it's crazy. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Where am I at now? Instead, the defense looked at the majority and turned over the very people. Unified Command, which included Tony Liggett, who drafted the affidavit for search warrant, was fully aware of the mimicked crime scene on Brad Holder's social media. To me, oh, it pisses me off so bad. This fucker mimicked what was done at that crime scene. Why would anybody ever do that? Okay, unless you're proud of something, or you're trying to memorialize something for yourself. That's how I see it, and it just makes me sick. But anyway, and excuse my language, I'm sorry. As well as other posts that mimic the exact runes found at the crime scene, but failed to do anything about it, and failed to inform Judge Diener of this obvious suspect, Brad Holder, and all of the evidence that existed against Holder, making him a prime suspect. The court will learn in the body of this memorandum that Holder was connected to the crimes, the crime scene, and to other men who had confessed to the crime. The evidence of those connections will be provided in the body of the memorandum, including copies of the images found on Holder's Facebook page at the time of the investigation, which link Holder to the crime scene, as well as the images found by Ryan Boucher, that law enforcement has failed to turn over to the defense. The defense will also attach what the defense calls D. Winters' report, which is the memorialization of Trooper Winters' interaction with Ryan Boucher. Liggett provided none of this evidence or information to Judge Diener, but rather allowed Judge Diener to believe that Richard Allen was a lone suspect in the murders in spite of zero evidence linking Richard Allen to the crimes at the time. Liggett sought the search warrant 26 days before an election. Unified Command's failure to vigorously pursue the obvious links between the crime scene and Odinism is even more perplexing. When evidence known to law enforcement demonstrated a clear nexus between Brad Holder and at least 4 other suspects, Elvis Fields from Rushville, Patrick Westfall from Delphi. He's one of the ones whose interview just disappeared, Sarge. Patrick Westfall. Johnny Messer from Rushville, and Rod Abrams from Rushville, now living in Connorsville. Unified Command was aware that Elvis... Now, this is interesting. A lot of people do not know about this, okay? This gentleman, Elvis Fields. We're about to talk about. Where did I go here? Okay. Elvis Fields confessed to his sister that he was involved in the murders, even providing to his sister intimate crime scene details, of which only those that would be present at the crime scene would have familiarity with. Additionally, Elvis Fields told his sister, Mary, on February 14th of 2017, that he was present at the killings and that he now had a brother and was now part of a gang. In February 2018, Elvis had been questioned by law enforcement but denied involvement in the murders. However, after being dropped off at his trailer following questioning, Elvis turned around, walked back to the police car, and according to the police report, asked the state trooper if his spit is found on one of the girls, but he could explain. Oh, I'm sorry. If his spit is found on one of the girls, but he could explain it away, would he still be in trouble? So he went back and asked after that being dropped off. He turned around, walked back, asked the state trooper, and said, "Hey, if my spit is found on one of the girls, and I explain it, am I still in any trouble?" What? Anyway. So the state trooper, what's that? Oh, okay. The state trooper that heard Elvis utter these words, Kevin Murphy, was not part of the Unified Command, but immediately relayed Elvis's disturbing question to Jay Harper of the Unified Command. Elvis also admitted to a different sister, Joyce, that he had, in fact, spit on one of the girls. Elvis told Joyce that he was on a trail in a bridge with two girls that were killed and that he was going away for a long time.
Wow.
Uh-huh. Elvis's alibi for February 13th of 2017 was also probably flogged. State troopers who weren't part of Unified Command determined that Elvis's roommate concocted a story concerning Elvis's whereabouts on February 13th of 2017. This roommate is Rod Abrams. Abrams told a story claiming on February 13th of 2017 that he and Elvis Fields and a man named Ned Smith were visiting a sick friend in Muncie. Unfortunately for Rod, this story conflicted with the story that Elvis told law enforcement as to his whereabouts on February 13th of 2017. These shady alibis were relayed to Unified Command. These shady alibis will be further explained in the body of the memorandum. Furthermore, Unified Command knew that on February 1st of 2018, Elvis's sister passed the polygraph examination when asked if she were telling the truth about what Elvis had confessed to her. Unified Command's failure to vigorously pursue the obvious links between the crime scene and Odinism is even more inexplicable when evidence known to law enforcement included information about another Odinite named Patrick Westfall, who was living in Delphi very close to the murder scene on February 13th of 2017. Evidence known to Unified Command included the fact that fellow Odinites Patrick Westfall and Brad Holder were close friends as late as January 21st of 2017. However, that friendship ended very abruptly in February of 2017. The schism in their friendship resulted from a fight that occurred between Holder and Westfall in February of 17, where he and Westfall were in the woods near a river conducting a ritual. One of them said or did something the other did not agree with, and they no longer talked to each other. The river was near Patrick's house, and intoxicated Brad Holder shared this disturbing information with his ex-wife, Amber Holder. Amber then relayed the disturbing information to law enforcement, who were not a part of Unified Command in 2019. These officers then relayed this disturbing information to Unified Command. Liggett concealed this information from Judge Diener again. In 2019, Command learned that in a totally different conversation with his ex-wife, Brad Holder pointed the finger away from himself and directly at Patrick Westfall as being the person actually responsible for the murders of Abby and Libby. According to police reports, Brad told his ex-wife Amber that Westfall and his people killed Abigail Williams and Liberty German because one of their mothers was mixing up with other people outside the mother's race. Furthermore, Unified Command was aware that Brad Holder had told Amber that I can only protect you so much if you keep asking questions. Brad Holder further told his ex-wife Amber that Patrick Westfall had many people backing him up, backing Westfall up, and that Westfall also had powerful friends. Liggett knew of this information for more than 3 years before Liggett sought a search warrant for Richard Allen's house. Yet, Liggett never shared that information with Judge Diener. Additionally, Westfall provided a very weak alibi as to his whereabouts on February 13th of 17. Westfall told law enforcement that he was at home the afternoon of Monday, February 13th of 2017. The defense is unaware of any search warrants that Liggett sought to enter Westfall's house or whether Unified Command instructed law enforcement to knock on a single neighbor's door to verify Westfall's alibi. Unified Command's failure to continually pursue the obvious links between the crime scene and Odinism is even more disturbing when evidence known to law enforcement included information about another Odinite named Johnny Messer from Rushville. Johnny was a recruiter for the Odinites and was also the connective tissue between the Odinites from the Delphi area, Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, and the suspects from the Rushville area, Elvis Fields and Rod Abrams. Delphi is located 126 miles from Rushville. Law enforcement knew that Johnny Messer was friends with Brad Holder and Patrick Westfall. Law enforcement also knew that Messer was acquaintances with Elvis Fields and Rod Abrams. Unified Command theoretically could claim and actually appear to be claiming that this connection is simply a bizarre coincidence. However, Command not only knew that Elvis Fields, Rod Abrams, and Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall shared a common acquaintance, Johnny Messer, but also that Elvis Fields and Brad Holder followed each other on Facebook and even mimicked each other's Facebook pages, with Elvis Fields actually recreating the photos that Holder posted on his Facebook page. Shockingly, at his August 10th, 2023 deposition, Command member Jerry Holman claimed he did not even know who Messer was, nor what the evidence showed of Messer's possible role in the murders of Abby and Libby. It is additionally infuriating that Messer was cleared as a suspect in the murders when these facts. Johnny's ex-girlfriend, Taylor Hornaday, told police that Messer and Patrick Westfall were like brothers. She also told police that she had allowed Johnny to borrow her car on or around Valentine's Day of 2017, and that Johnny drove her car up there to hang out with his Vinlander friends. When he returned her vehicle, it had dried blood over one side of it. Johnny Messer refused to discuss the details of how the blood got there, and Messer's ex-girlfriend further stated that it took her several car washes to finally remove the blood. Meanwhile, Messer has claimed that Messer has claimed that that he had never, not once in his life, been to Delphi, home of his brother Patrick Westfall, and near the home of his other Odinite brother Brad Holder. Messer's ex-girlfriend also told law enforcement that Holder and Messer were two of the most violent people she knew and were fully capable of having been involved in the murders. Messer's ex-girlfriend further stated that a motive for their involvement in the murder of Abby and Libby might be the concept of blood in, blood out, which means social acceptance into their secret circles. All this information was relayed to Liggett and the command team, yet Command provided no guidance as to what to do. To capitalize on this information in order to work towards solving the murders. Additionally, Command learned that Johnny Messer's ex-girlfriend had been listening to and recording Messer's phone calls. Police secured the phone and listened to 3 phone calls involving Messer. In 2 of those phone calls, Messer was offering money to other people to find someone so they can be injured or killed. The 3rd call involves Messer bragging about holding a subject hostage and shooting them at his house. Essentially, Command said nothing to see here regarding Messer and issued no warrants for his home. None have been disclosed to the defense, nor did they attempt to utilize an age-old investigative tool referred to as an interrogation to pursue the truth about the involvement of Messer, Brad Holder, or Westfall in these crimes. Many more shocking facts concerning this so-called investigation will be revealed in the body of the memorandum. Okay, so there's that part, folks. Very, very compelling. That's me. Very compelling.
Is this the new thing that was supposed to be heard in court?
This is the Franks motion for the hearing.
Okay.
And this gives the basis of why most people are now saying that Richard Allen is not guilty. Okay.
How I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are these like men that they were referring to? I'm just curious.
I want to say that Holder is 48. I think. I'll have to look it up. I can give you the answers to that, but I do, Teresa. I do strongly feel that way, and for some reason I do. I think they're in mid to late 40s. Clue though.
It's just I can't imagine like this like grown individual goes to his sister. I'm in a gang now. Like
I agree
you know
with
what I
you.
mean? Like it's
I agree with you. We're in a club. You know what I mean? I'm just like, come on. And these people have family. Well, Brad does. It's just this whole thing is insane to me. Okay, Salty said they're in their late 30s and late 40s. They're definitely not teenagers. They know better. They're not, you know what I mean? Come on. So the evidence shows that during his pretrial incarceration at Westville, Richard Allen's been monitored, intimidated, and mentally abused by correctional officers who are also. Two of these correctional officers are named Sergeant Robinson and Sergeant Jones.
Them damn sergeants.
One second here. These Westville officers boldly wore patches on the Department of Corrections uniforms that proclaimed, "In Odin we trust," along with another patch displaying symbols of Odinism, interlocking triangles. Both Odinite correctional officers, Sergeant Robinson and Jones, also displayed images of runes and or other Odinite symbols on their Facebook page as recently as June 25th of 2023. For example, Odinite Sergeant Robinson openly displayed a photograph of his Odinite altar on his Facebook page. A similar altar can be found on the Facebook page of Brad Holder. This is true. I've seen it, or I saw it a few months back. Beginning at least on April 3rd of 23,
You're losing it.
Heard. Hey, you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, but for the moment, I had to imitate what was coming across the mic, and that was funny, bro.
Okay.
like that goat.
Exactly.
oh my god.
Sorry, Dave.
Oh, where did it go? Display of their Odinite patches came to an end on August 17th of 23. What changed? Why suddenly did they no longer display their patches beginning on August 17th of 23? Visit between Richard Allen and his defense team. Here is your possible answer. It was not until August 10th, until an August 10th deposition of Trooper Jerry Holman that Richard Allen's defense team finally revealed to the prosecutor and Unified Command that for many months they had been fully aware of the strong evidence linking Odinism to the murders. It was also at the August 10th, 23 deposition that the Unified Command learned that Richard Allen's defense team was not only aware of this information, but also intended to expose the linkage of Abby and Libby's murders to Odinism, and would also be revealing the names of the Odinists at trial. At that deposition, Holman and the prosecutor also learned that the defense team obviously intended on exposing the Unified Command's utter failure in pursuing the Odinistic suspects. In spite of the powerful evidence of Odinite's involvement in the murders, however, and this is important to note, at his August 10th deposition, Richard's defense team did not let Holman or anyone else know that it was fully aware of the Odinite corrections officers at Westville wearing in Odin We Trust patches. Allen's defense team's next visit with Richard Allen at Westville following the August 10th deposition occurred 1 week later on August 17th. Curiously, or perhaps not so curiously, in those 7 days since the defense team revealed their knowledge that evidence linked Odinus to the murders, for the first time, Sergeant Robinson was no longer wearing his Odin patch. It was also as if someone had alerted Odinite Robinson that the gig was up, because the lawyers knew about the links to Odinism. So lose the patch and pray that the defense attorneys had never noticed the patches on prior visits. Unfortunately for Westville and Unified Command, Rick's defense team absolutely noticed the Odinite patch worn by Sergeant Robinson and Jones beginning April 3rd of 23. Furthermore, Rick's defense team absolutely noticed the conspicuous absence of Sergeant Robinson's Odin patch following Trooper Holman's realization that Rick's defense team was fully aware of the connection between the murders and Odinism, as well as the failure of Unified Command to follow through on the evidence that linked the murders to Odinism. Stupid people. The court will also learn in the body of the memorandum that Jones and Robinson were seemingly always by Allen's side during most, if not every visit. Normally, officers Robinson and Jones were within earshot of every conversation being between Richard and his attorneys, and between Richard and his wife, close enough that Richard would have to be worried about any conversation with his attorneys and his wife being overheard by Robinson and Jones or other corrections officers beginning on April 3rd. And for several visits thereafter, the Westville correction officers even videotaped attorney visits between Richard and his defense team. Most of the time, if not every time, it was Sergeant Jones or Robinson bringing the handheld camcorder to the visit. Corrections officers even required that Allen be positioned facing the window where the corrections officer was videotaping the attorney visits with the handheld camcorder. You got to be kidding me. Like, how do they allow this shit? You know what I mean? God. Where did it go? So this positioning of Allen's body would allow the corrections officers to videotape Allen's mouth as he talked to his attorney. Richard would therefore not be able to privately discuss anything with his attorney, such as, the guards are telling me that my wife and family will be killed unless I call my wife and tell her I killed those girls. Instead, a mentally defeated Allen would continually mutter to his defense team at every visit these types of general questions. Is my wife alive? Is my family alive? Is my wife safe? Is my family safe? Jesus Christ. At one such meeting with his attorney, Allen mumbled in a somewhat incoherent fashion that Odinites were threatening him. Now, incoherent, guys, meaning the man has been being drugged, like I stated. This is sad. Hold on a minute. Who turned the heat up? I'm melting here. Sorry.
Oh.
68. 68. Do what I said. Thank you. Jesus, it's everything.
There you go. You didn't have enough kids, buddy.
I need 2 or 3 more. At one such meeting, he mumbled incoherent. Odinites were threatening him. It would be important to know that Allen's defense team had never mentioned the words Odinites or Odinism, or informed Allen that evidence suggests that Odinists murdered Abby and Libby until the 25th of August, when his defense team, in the presence of his wife, who was visiting with Rick in the prison, first discovered the exculpatory Odin-related evidence to Rick. Rick's defense team felt that having remained aware of the safer due to his weakened mental state and concerned that something wrong.
Dago, what happens now, Dago, you don't robot anymore. What happens is it takes your words and speeds them up by like 100. It's crazy, brother.
Oh, my apologies.
And it comes out and no, it's not your fault. It's your internet provider, but they've been having trouble with. But what it's doing now is different than before. Before it would slow you down and you would break and crackle and freeze. That's not happening. Now you're going like the Flash.
And high pitched. It's like
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Like I said, I
But it's only happened twice. I mean, just so you know, your connection is much better than it's been.
they said they fixed it today, but obviously they didn't. So
And all, but it's still much better. Won't you agree, Clue?
I think it is.
Yeah.
well, maybe they need to fix it again. Who knows? I'll call them again tomorrow. So let me back up because I saw somebody say they didn't hear the last sentence. Let me back that up again. At one, where are we at? What related to Rick defense team having him review? Okay, so when his defense team, in the presence of his wife, who was visiting with Rick in the prison, first discovered the exculpatory Odin-related evidence to Rick, Rick's defense team felt that having him remain unaware would hopefully keep Rick a bit safer. Due to Rick's weakened mental state and the concern that he might unwittingly discuss his attorney's strategy to Jones and Robinson, Rick's attorneys opted to not discuss Odinism with their client out of fear that Robinson and Jones would then be on the alert that the defense team was aware of Odinite involvement. And that, I'll be honest with you guys, that has probably saved his life, to be honest with you. That's probably the only reason why he's still alive at this point. Where are we at here? So Odinite review evidence before feeling confident and comfortable in revealing their knowledge to the court of the strong evidence that Odinites murdered the girls, and that command had chosen to do nothing about it, but in fact had hidden these facts from Judge Diener. Therefore, Richard's defense team opted to keep Richard in the dark about the Odinite connection to the murders, supported by the evidence. Again, more detailed information concerning the officers as well as documentation supporting that information will be provided in the body of the memorandum. Okay, it says Liggett concealed certain witness testimony and falsified other witness testimony in order to prevent Liggett's bogus timeline from being exposed to Judge Diener. Beyond the shocking omissions concerning the pagan cult's link to the murders and the fact that Odinites were also watching Richard Allen, aka akin to foxes watching the hen house. The evidence will show that Liggett's affidavit for a search warrant is also filled with lies and other concealed information concerning witness testimony. This false and concealed information completely eviscerates the state's timeline. The evidence will show that Tony Liggett knew of the major problems that these witness testimonies created, and Liggett chose to solve his problem by concealing this information and even falsifying other information in order to bolster the state's bogus timeline. The evidence will show that Liggett concealed facts concerning descriptions that key witness Betsy Blair made directly to Liggett face to face in 2019 concerning how this is a big one, guys. This was important than this. A lot of people don't know about this. One second. Okay. Hold on a minute, guys. I'm trying to look at something. Okay. Hold on. Where did it go? Okay, the evidence will show that Liggett concealed facts and descriptions. Well, okay, yeah, this is kind of important. This is a witness, and this bothers me that this has not been like broadcast a little bit more, but she made directly to Liggett in a face-to-face in 2019 interview. I'm sorry, concerning the person that she observed on the bridge, and to a vehicle that she observed at the parking lot at around 2:15. Okay, for Liggett's timeline to work and to place Allen on the Monon High Bridge at 2:13, the time of the famous Down the Hill video, Liggett desperately needed Betsy Blair to describe a man on the bridge that looked like Richard Allen, and furthermore, desperately needed Betsy Blair to describe a car that she observed parked at the CPS parking lot at approximately 2:15. As looking like Richard Allen's black Ford Focus, suffice it to say, the evidence will show that Liggett concealed from Judge Diener that Betsy Blair described a man on the bridge that looked nothing like Richard Allen and described a car at the CPS lot that looked nothing like Richard Allen's car, both in color and design. The evidence will show that Betsy provided these timeline defeating descriptions directly to Liggett face to face twice in 2019. And of course, he never informed Judge Diener of these descriptions. So it shows that Liggett just basically flat out lied about what he claimed. And Sarah Carbaugh told him in 17 concerning a man walking down the road near the murder scene. For Liggett's timeline to work, Liggett needed Sarah Carbaugh to describe a man walking down the road wearing a blue jacket who had blood covering his clothing. However, in 17, Sarah did not say these things. This did not prevent Liggett from affirming under oath that Sarah Carbaugh did say those things. In fact, what Sarah Carbaugh actually told Liggett in 17 was that she observed a man walking down the road wearing a tan coat whose clothes were muddy. Nowhere did Carbaugh claim in 17 that the man she observed was wearing a blue coat. Nowhere did she claim that the man she observed was wearing bloody clothes. Nowhere. This truth about what Sarah Carbaugh actually told Liggett in 17 blows up Liggett's timeline, which is the likely reason Liggett failed to include this information in his affidavit. Additional evidence, again, will be presented in the memorandum. The defense believes that the evidence strongly supports the contention that Liggett intentionally concealed evidence from Judge Diener and lied about other evidence to Judge Diener. In his affidavit for search warrant, however, even Liggett did not intentionally conceal evidence, even if he didn't conceal evidence from the judge or did not intentionally place false information into the search warrant affidavit. At a minimum, Liggett behaved recklessly, and he prepared the affidavit omitting those facts from Judge Diener. Okay. All right. Let me scan down here. Evidence supporting these facts was needless in a giant haystack of discovery, and that's not. Let me see. Not buried deep in. Okay. Hundreds of hours of video. Okay. There we go. So this memorandum was buried deep in a mountain of discovery, thousands upon thousands of pages of paperwork, and hundreds and hundreds of hours of video, but not buried deep enough. The court will know at the conclusion of this memorandum that the defense is not inventing, fabricating, or exaggerating these facts, no matter how crazy those facts may appear. Allen's defense team is attaching to this memorandum the supporting documentation that provides proof that these facts are true. Okay? Okay.
You're breaking up again.
All right. So, all right. Now there's more to this.
This
down
is a ton of stuff
to it, guys. And I'm gonna.
You should put together a mini series on all of this stuff.
Well, somebody else is already doing that, and it's probably gonna be really good. And I will support her doing that too because she's got a lot on this. So,
I have a question.
I'm not gonna. Oh, go. Sorry.
Didn't this man work at the CVS?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't his car be in the parking lot?
Yeah, you would suspect so, right?
At CVS, yes. This here that they're talking about is CPS. That was near that area. Sorry.
CPS.
Yeah, that was probably my fault for not clarifying that in my speaking. I'm sorry.
So all this heaps of evidence and discovery of information that they collected over the course of their 5 years of work or whatever the hell they spent. And none of that is applicable to placing charges or getting warrants on these people. Only Richard Allen, who doesn't look like any of the people.
Where the problem lies. Yeah, that's where the problem lies. They have avoided that at all costs. Specific people, in my opinion, that are in specific places. Okay? That's how this has all worked out like this. And it's very
to say, but I believe if this had went down in Idaho, they would have been able to get a grand jury indictment over either of the two. that the
Oh,
defense is presenting.
Oh, any jurisdiction, the information that Dago's sharing against these other individuals would be enough for an indictment.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
They've got a lot of information connecting them, circumstantial and direct, by statements. I mean, third party statements are allowed if you're going to get an
Yeah.
indictment.
it's
Right.
real interesting how there's seems to be this pretty well crafted story about, you know, the evidence that exists that goes in favor of this guy. I'll be curious to see what the prosecution's got to say in response to it.
And that's the problem. You know what I mean? It's certain people in certain places.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying, guys. And it's sick. It's sad. And no matter what's said, that's why the judge seeing all these things a long time ago should have said, wait a minute. What? This next part of this is about the crime scene. I've already showed you and talked to you about it. I'm not going to cover that.
Anthony said 16 phone founds at Ricky's, a lot of weapons, and some gun that matches with the bullet they found.
Anthony said 16 phones found at Ricky's, a lot of weapons, and same gun that Matt. Of course. Okay. I have a lot of weapons here. That doesn't mean I did something like that. You know what I mean? 16 phones. Okay. I have about probably 12. That doesn't, to me, Anthony, I'm sorry, but that doesn't say that he's guilty. I respect your opinions on things, but that to me doesn't mean anything, really.
I'm sorry, were all them phones working?
I doubt
it. 16 phones. I got probably 5
I'm
here
just
in my
saying,
house.
like, I have old phones, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I upgrade,
exactly.
I just put the old one in a. I wish they would be more specific, right? Like, were the phones turned on?
Logan was. Exactly. Logan was Brad Holder's son, which was Abby's boyfriend at some point. Yes. And preliminary bullet test devices showed nothing, no connection. Exactly. So, 1 second here. The defense has also provided 2 photos of the shoe and cell phone that were found under Abby's legs and marked them Exhibit 21 and 2. Have been filed confidentially. Also, the defense has provided 3 photos of a bullet reportedly found in the ground between Abby and Libby, and marked these photos as 23, 24, and 25. Now, again, that bullet wasn't found until 3 days after the crime scene had been cleared, folks. Okay, then they resecured. Can't do that, and then found the bullet.
Did they give a reason why they went back to the crime scene? Was the bullet found and brought to their attention?
That's a good point. Salty, do you know why they did go back to resecure the crime scene? Because it wasn't even in that video. Why they decided to do that? Was there something else that was
unusual?
Yeah, it is very unusual.
Very unusual.
Seems to happen more and more. Look at Idaho, where they had to expand it days later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they did it with Collier 3 times.
This whole paragraph talking about the absence of photos of the bullet in the ground, the bullet right as it's been extracted, anything measuring it, like y'all just, it's almost like y'all
right. Yeah, they went back because of the FBI and the state police. There we go. Thank you.
Like, and how could you even see it in the ground? Like, what were you doing digging in the ground?
Well, there was something that they must have been looking in that vicinity around where the bodies were, and somebody came up with it. They found out. Okay, I guess the state police and the FBI found out about the crime scene, and they were like, "WTF?" That makes sense. That's probably why they bounced the FBI off the case.
Is the crime scene part of a national park?
No.
No, that bridge area was, but not the crime scene itself.
So there's a national park that it borders, or is it a state park? What is there?
There's a park that's in that area there.
We don't know if it's national or state.
I think it's state. I think I never looked into that part of it. I never paid attention to that. They
were found on somebody's property, right?
Right.
Yeah, state park. It's already said it's state park. Yeah. That area over there, like that's where Ron Logan's property runs into that area. So One of the FBI agents swears it's wrong. And a lot of people think it's him too, Anthony. I can see why, but this stuff over here is so compelling that I just read, though. Why? How could anybody not even look at this and even think that this is remotely important?
Well, and I would think that it would have to be pretty solid for the defense to actually name these guys.
You're right.
Because it's a pretty hefty accusation they're putting on these two guys if they don't have strong
100%.
evidence supporting it.
Thank you. I agree. Sarge, the crime scene was private property across from the Deer Creek.
Right.
By the park.
I was just trying to determine. I knew there was a nearby park. I wasn't sure if it was state or federal.
No,
I'm looking for the feds connection. What brings the feds in here, right?
Right. One man alone completed all these tasks in less than 1 hour. Yeah, here we go. One man alone completed all these tasks in less than 1 hour and 17 minutes. Liggett says one thing publicly, but another thing privately to his law enforcement friends. There's no way in hell. I'm sorry, but there is no way in hell that one man did that. All of that. Killed these girls, moved these girls, staged the scene, and walked away. There's no way in hell. I'm sorry. Motto said that a defense team would never do that without receipts. So yeah, agreed, Cletus. Agreed.
Well, he's already told us that all this stuff is buried in the thousands of documents that they've turned over for discovery.
Right. They had it buried for years.
And that's because
all in 2 hours.
You hand over a suspect list and you hand over exactly your interaction with that particular suspect or witness. Okay. And so that's always the catch-22 for these prosecutors. Right. So you question somebody and you ignore them for whatever reason, whether it's nefarious or not. And yet that interview is very damning to that person you interviewed and you didn't do anything with it. But because you listed them, it's in that box of documents. That interview is always going to come and show up. And
I would or just delete the interview, right? I would like for somebody to find and point out the connection between multiple people in here, and then have somebody look at that and say, "Nah, no, there's nothing going on. Bullshit." I'm sorry. Let me scan this again.
I think an hour and 17 minutes to do what this crime is about. I don't think that's an unreasonable time for a single person.
Well,
consider the size and weight of the victims and the ability to move them. My concerns are a lot of other things. The bullet. Did they ever find the clothing that was missing?
Well, the one girl was wearing the other girl's clothing. Okay,
right,
that
one girl was unclothed, right? Is that true? Okay. Wasn't one of the girls unclothed or no?
Yeah, one was nude and the other one was wearing her clothes. So yeah.
Did they find the nude girl's clothing?
That I do not know. I don't believe so.
I thought they found it in the creek.
No, wait. Let me wait. What'd you say, Clue?
I thought they found them in a creek.
Okay, that may be true. That, like I said, guys, I don't have specifics on it on everything, which I'm still trying to get. One girl dressed, yes, in the creek. Thank you. You're right, Clue. There you go. There's a link, Anthony. If you want to jump up real quick, you're welcome to. I give everybody the option. Just please be careful as to how you say certain things. That's all. And be respectful of everybody else up there with you.
And I will say, I remember last time we talked about this, somebody said that he went on that trail a lot. And you read that one of the limbs looked like it had been cut with something, right? So if he possibly pre-planned this, I could see him doing it in like an hour.
Well, the thing is that I have issue with is obviously this is not the crime scene. It's a secondary crime scene. The only thing is, Anthony, is you got to show me your face one time while you're okay. There you go, bro. You're fine. You can go ahead and shut your camera down. I'll bring you up.
Yeah, and the fact that a limb appeared cut by a saw of some sort would indicate you'd want to swab that for DNA samples.
Well, I mean, you can have you guys know those chainsaws, like we use one in the yard, and it's just like you can fold that up and put it in your pocket.
Yeah, it could have been one of them little hand saws like that or anything. But welcome, Anthony. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you guys well. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Good stuff. Good to have you up here. Appreciate
Howdy, Anthony.
input? Oh, he's
He's
gone.
gone.
Okay, let's try that again. 1 second, folks. Oh, okay. Thank you, Salty. Hold up. Wait a minute. What did I just do here?
Hold up. Hey.
Why in the hell is that doing that there? 1 second. What is going on? What happened, Anthony? If you're in here.
Yeah, he got knocked out somehow.
Yeah. Well, what happens is if you're in StreamYard, and you guys mostly know this, you can't touch anything else or it'll knock you right back out.
I don't have that problem. I could surf around, open up. I could actually open a game and play it.
I play games all the time when I'm listening to y'all.
Gamer.
Okay. Yeah, it's showing in the clothing and stuff like that was missing. I'm not gonna put it up here on the screen, but they're real and it's there. So bingo.
What, pictures?
I don't want to put these up on screen just out of respect, but I'll show it to you guys. Or send it to you guys to look at. Okay. Hold on a minute here. Maybe hidden like a child. Okay. All right. So I'm done reading that stuff for tonight. There's a lot more that goes in with that, but I'm going to show you this other thing that was sent to me too. This is up. There he is again. All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry, man. I don't know what happened. I got disconnected.
Well, when you're on StreamYard, especially if you're on a phone or anything, if you go to click on something else or look at anything, it'll knock you off immediately.
Yeah,
So-
I've been on StreamYard before, but yeah, I think that's what happened. I think I accidentally tried to
Okay.
back up and kick
No
me
problem.
off.
So what can we do for you tonight, sir?
Pardon?
I said, what can we do for you tonight, sir? And thank you for joining us.
Oh man, I just wanted to I enjoy your show, man. You know I'm on the other side of the fence.
Oh, it's okay. I respect that 100%.
Yeah, and I respect your guys' opinion, man. I'm no troll. People say, "Oh, he's a troll." I just like to challenge people's opinions, and not that you guys are wrong, and not that I'm right. I enjoy the conversation.
No problem. That's what it's all about. Absolutely. I appreciate it.
Why?
yeah.
Why? What puts you on the other side of the fence? Because all we're seeing is the defense.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I get the whole old night theories, you know, and a lot of it's you know, it's compelling that the evidence and stuff. I get why people want to go down that road, but man,
Can I ask you something, Anthony?
if there's 4 or 5 people out there that's gonna do some kind of ritual or something, you would think there would have been at least a couple witnesses that would have saw them out there. This area is not a vast area like people think. I live in Indiana. I've been out there, so it's not a huge vast area like people think it is. I mean, it's a big area, but it's not like a national park where it's like, super huge. But
Okay.
it's just hard for me to believe. 4 people. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Taking the Odinism out, do you see in what he was reading that you can make a case that other people have direct knowledge, like the guy Elvis and other people that they interviewed, and their direct knowledge does imply they may have something to do with the case? Do you see that?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
now let me ask you another question. What against Allen? Taking the bullet aside, because that came 2 days after. Taking that aside, what aside from that bullet indicates Mr. Allen was there and did it?
Well, for one, he puts himself there.
Okay.
On the bridge. Timeline matches.
How do
The
we
three-
know that? Nobody has confirmed the time they remember seeing him there.
Yeah, they do. The three girls that passed him on the trails that he admitted that he saw and passed himself says
Okay,
that he saw the three girls on the trails and puts himself there on the timeline. His defense is the one that changed the timeline to match what they want the perspective to be.
Mm. Well,
Okay.
I will say this for the Odinism thing, like, you got to kind of ask yourself, like, what made these girls be the first? Because don't you think there should be more cases of, like, people going missing, like, getting killed in the woods? Or did they just start practicing this? You know what I mean? Like,
And that's I thought about that too. Like maybe this was like just the first time that they actually went through with this dramatic end of it. If that's what you know what I mean? There could have been other things done with animals or things like that.
It
and
may
this
not
was-
have been an Odinistic ritual. It just may have been a bunch of guys that were into Odinism that got together and did that to these young girls, right?
And again, it wasn't even. It's not even. It's very very roughly based on Odinism. That's why they're going on the heathen basis of it. They're called heathens, and they do it. Okay, yeah, and that's what Salty said. Rogue players, and that they even talk about in the rituals in the Facebook post. So okay,
Yeah.
Don't they have Richard Allen's car on the Hoover Harvester store video? Is that
say that
correct?
again.
Don't they have Richard Allen's car on video, the same type of car that he drove at that time, which I do believe it was like a Ford Focus. But don't they have that on video and use your harvest cam of him driving?
I think that the timeline for that is off though, and that there's another car there too as well though.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I don't know the time frame of the video or whatnot, but like I said, I've never seen the timeline. I'm just speculating like everybody else. So I hope no one like tries to say,
Anthony, you don't worry about what others are thinking. You're asking questions and making points they're fine. There's nothing.
That's what this is all about. You're allowed to have your opinions, your theories. Like I said, just like we have to be logical and commonsensical. That's all. Right. You're fine. You're fine.
I want to hear an opposing view before I read all these documents. So you're really
that's always
you're really appreciated. Okay.
So here's what always made sense to me, that with this whole wife and why she never ever put all of this together, because he already told her from day one, hey honey, I was out there on the bridge. I told the cops I was out there. They know I was out there. You know, that's me on the bridge, but I didn't kill anybody. I went and told them that I was out there. So they already, since he went and told them, hey, you know, I was out there on the bridge, same time, you know, but I wasn't involved. So it kind of gave him like a pass with his wife. You get what I'm saying? Like he admitted that he was there, but so then she's thinking, well, why would he go to the cops and tell them that he was out there if he didn't have no involvement in it? So she probably from day one started buying into that. But I think once they searched his house, that's when it all started clicking with her, what was going on. And it all started making sense that, hey, you know, something's off here. She drove away. She drove away when the FBI was searching their house. Who does that? And left him.
You got to sit outside. You know, when they issue a warrant, they do ask you to step outside, and they'll put you in a cop car, or if you got somewhere you can be, they ask you to go ahead and do that. So
Well, if
she's the
they're-
wife. She's the wife, and so when they went to search the house, that's not unusual for her to not be present while they're going through
Right.
that house.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
but
asked.
if she's
Oh, she
saying
was.
that she left, like that's weird. How would they let you leave?
Well, they asked you to leave.
She's not a
She sat
suspect.
outside. She sat outside for almost 2 hours with him in that van. And he was doing a lot of explaining. I'm going to guarantee it. She was doing a lot of explaining why this house was getting searched by the FBI. Eventually, she probably started figuring it all out and said, you know what? You deal with this. I'm out of here. And she drove off and left him there to deal with that. Now, whose wife does that? You tell me. Nobody's. You're not going to leave your husband there to deal with that if you think he's innocent. And another thing, show me one interview or one thing where she says, my husband is innocent. He did not do this. He's a good guy. Period. Show me that.
He may have sent her away at that point. He may have said, you don't need to see this. You shouldn't be here for this. If she's getting stressed out, he may have said, why don't you just go ahead and go and I'll deal with this at that
Can
point.
I just say also, because we don't know why she did what she did, so you could theorize, but that isn't the truth. Okay? And that's the catch-22 when you run into a situation like that. What she did does seem off the beaten path. And until we know an answer to it, then that's just an off the beaten path example or idea that or knowledge that you have. But don't conclude and accept as a final conclusion her reason for doing that without knowing. Right? We don't know why she. Maybe she had to go to work. Maybe she had a doctor's appointment. Maybe he reassured her it'd be better if she just went and drove and he'd take care of it here. We don't know. Maybe she realized he was a killer. We don't know. So my point is.
Are you going to go to work?
You can't really conclude what the truth is there. We don't know.
Right. Who goes to work when the FBI is searching your house?
I'm just saying we don't know that. But Anthony, we have no idea as to the real answer to that. So we could theorize all we want, but it doesn't give us an answer.
We don't have the real ideas to the answers of none of this. I'm speculating. I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm speculating like everyone else.
All right. I think, the info that she drove away is interesting to know. I just want to share that with you. I think that is interesting to know.
No, I'm with you on that because
it is.
If it was fiance, I'm not going nowhere. Especially
you're not going to go to work. You're not going to go to work when the FBI is searching your house on a double murder that happened 2 miles from your house.
Well, the bigger part for me is that if they're searching, if they find something, right, whether you're guilty or not, it might be the last time I get to be close to you for a long time. So I don't think I would leave, but that's just me.
Nope, you're not going to leave. You're not. A normal family, you're not going to leave your husband to deal with something like that and just drive off and leave him there. That's so puzzling to me as a family guy. I'm not gonna leave my wife. If my wife's accused of something and my house is getting searched and the FBI's there, I am not going to leave her to deal with that.
So what other points from that forward do you have in his argument for guilt?
Whose homes did they search? Whose homes got searched in all this?
I do believe it was just as far as suspects.
Yeah.
His home was searched for sure. Well, I don't. Salty, do you know the answer? Is anybody else searched?
I know the answer.
Keegan. Oh yeah, Keegan. I forgot about Keegan Klein, and of course Ron Lugan. But Keegan
Klein's grandma's house got searched. They dug up her backyard. correct?
I believe that's true.
Yep. The
What is-
McCains,
What they
uh,
dig the yard up for? Just
I
curious.
knew Stephen-
why, the same reason why they was digging up Ricky Allen's backyard,
Which was
looking for evidence.
mm,
The
Right.
clothing, the knife. Well, they
Yep.
got the clothing from the creek, but at least the knife, right?
Trophies.
Trophies.
Trophy.
Okay, I think they knew they came off the girl that weren't present. Yep. That would
There
make
were
sense.
missing items. There were missing items from the crime scene. Remember
Do we
that?
know if they discover any connection with Alan?
We don't know that.
Do you think that Klein is involved?
I do.
Okay. I mean, he is a piece of garbage. He's a pedophile, in
Yep.
my opinion.
Yep. Yep.
who's the one that
He-
died? That's Logan, right?
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
the older guy.
Ron
He
Logan.
passed-
And look, man, Ron Logan, all the crap that he did, the lying, his alibis, man,
Yeah.
it's really suspect to me, and always
I
has
agree.
been. But man, they was hard on Ron Logan from day one. They searched his home 2 different times, and I know it was a little bit past when the crime happened, and people say, "Oh, well, he could have cleaned everything up," and I get that. They searched his home 2 different times. They searched his house because they had a probation warrant because he was on probation, so they were able to not even get a warrant and go in there and search his home without, because he was on probation. When you're on probation, a probation officer can come in, search your home, look for alcohol, drugs, blah, 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 blah. So they did that the first time. Then they came back and they searched his property, his whole property. They were hard on Ron Logan. They wanted it to be Ron Logan so bad. And that's why they locked him up, because they thought they was going to get him to confess, but he wasn't involved. And that's why he never ever confessed, because he wasn't involved. And they couldn't get any hard evidence on him. They searched his property 2 times, so they had no case. So then they had to move forward. That's why this whole case got stagnant from day one, because they wanted it to be Ron Logan.
Was Ron Logan was the owner of the property where the bodies were found, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's evidence on his property,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yep. And supposedly Ron Logan's phone pinged that night at like 10 o'clock before the girls were found the next day out where the girls were found. And look, man, I've always went back and forth with this. I really believe when all this was going on, he was freaking out because he didn't want to go to jail, because he knew what he was doing that day, out drinking and things like that, violated his probation. I think he went out there and searched his property himself. I think he went out there and looked around, and this is just my speculation, but I think he saw the girls that night. I really do. I think he saw them on his property and freaked out and was like, "Oh shit, on my property. What am I going to do now?" And that's why his phone pinged at 10 o'clock.
Okay. So how do you relate that to Richard Allen at that point then?
What do you mean?
I mean, how do you put him, like, okay, we're talking about Logan, and I agree with you. Honestly, Logan is shady, was shady, period. Okay, I got you on that one. How do you relate that to Richard Allen at that point, though, as far as him being guilty of this?
Well, the things that makes me think that he's guilty is that he puts himself there at the crime scene, or not the crime scene, but at the timeline when the crime happened. That's what makes me think he's guilty. He says he was on the bridge. He was on platform 1. Betsy Blair puts him there. I think it was
Right.
Betsy. I'm not
Yeah.
positive, but she saw him on platform
So-
1.
I got a question.
Well, let me say real quick. Hold on, Sarge, real fast, and I'll let you do that. I agree with you on this, some of these things. Let me say though, let's say he is guilty. Okay. The biggest issue with this is how everything is being handled with him. How do you feel about that? And then hold that thought for a minute and go ahead and ask your question, Sarge.
Oh man,
Okay,
I
the
think that,
girls were. Go ahead, answer that. Go ahead.
man, look, I'm going to sit here and be honest with you. This whole case from day one, all this lost evidence, the Marathon gas station video supposedly got erased, and other things that have been misfiled or been erased. It's really suspicious to me. I get all that. I do. I'm in the same boat you guys are in. I think Richard Allen's the guy, but I'm really worried when this goes to trial with all this mishandling of information might let him go free.
Okay. Well, why do you think that's happening if he's actually guilty of this though?
I don't know. That's weird to me. It always has been. I'm gonna tell you from day one, I was on the other side of the fence, man. I started thinking like law enforcement was involved, cover-ups, politicians. When you get CSAM into a case like this, it opens up a lot of doors for people that are in high authorities that are doing this creepy ass stuff that they do, and it happens all the time. It made me wonder, was someone of higher up involved in this in a big cover up? But then when I started seeing like some of the things coming out, it kind of made me shift gears a little bit.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
All right, so I want to clarify something. The young girls were abducted during the day, correct?
Yeah.
How long before their bodies were found from that particular day?
The next day.
Morning, afternoon, evening?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock
in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So that means that somebody took those girls and kept them from whatever time in the afternoon that bridge event took place until they were deposited there, probably at night, right? That's the guess you would make. Did they, when the autopsy was done, did they give a projected time of death, an estimated time of death
Yep.
of the two?
Yes,
two
they
girls?
did. Yes, they
and
did.
How did that timeline work out? What from the time did they know what time they went missing from the bridge to the time they found, and then what time did they find the bodies? Is what I'm asking.
The girls supposedly, like I said, from the coroners, the girls were dead by 3. I think it was like 3, around 3:30. They said somewhere around that avenue.
Okay, and then 10 o'clock the next morning, they did an autopsy, and so did that autopsy? Did it show them passed away shortly after they went missing, later in the night? What does it show?
It showed that they were killed like around 3:15, 3:30 that same day. They
So in
were on
broad
the
daylight.
road. Yes. And that's crazy. Who kills 2 people in broad daylight out there in the open on trails where people are out? It's mind blowing to me too.
That's why I feel like that's not the crime scene. I think the crime scene was more of a hidden, more of a not out in the open spot. Okay, that is down out of the way. That's my opinion, and I feel that they were brought back there throughout the night, in my opinion, and staged at that point, and then found the next morning.
Doggo, how many times did they search the McCain's property?
I'm sorry, say that again.
How many times did they search the McCain's property?
The McCain's property, I don't know that answer.
I'm pretty sure it was the McCain's property. That they lived right there. I think they searched their home 3 times.
Okay.
Not their home, but their garages or their out barns or whatnot.
Okay.
That's
So
all.
here's why I have an issue with Alan being the person involved with the event, is that if you take people and you bring them to some covert location under some coercion and do what you want to do with them, which normally is sexual. I don't know if that happened in this case. The idea that you would then bring them and display them is pretty awkward. It doesn't seem to fit that kind of a situation. What motive would he have to expose the girls to an easy way to be found? Okay. If he took them off the bridge and went and did things with them that he did and then killed them with a knife, not his gun, he used a knife, right? So
Yep.
I have an issue with a single perpetrator doing that unless you could show me a history of this guy's criminal past that's effed up, right? That's kind of like a serial killer move or actually a cultist kind of move, right? Right. So a serial killer will do that. They will pose their victims, like the Delilah case from the 40s. And
The Dahlia,
place, right?
The Dahlia, right.
So that's kind of the hang up I'm having with getting over the hump with Alan. It's an unusual thing for a single killer to do, to take girls in broad daylight, do something with them, and then wait to move them to a location where they'll be fine. Why not just leave them where they lay and move on with your life and get the hell out of it?
And if you have a bullet in the scene, why didn't you use the gun? If there's a bullet there, why was the gun not used?
Hold on, I got 2 questions. So,
go ahead.
what was the time of death? Approximate time of death?
Around 3 p.m. I believe. Right
So
around.
the autopsies are saying that they died around 3 p.m. and they weren't found until 10 o'clock the next morning.
So somebody had to physically come back and move them, and that would be. See, that's why now I'm going to go back to that property owner. I guess he's passed away, right?
Yes.
Or a cultist group that would then want to pose those bodies or put those bodies where they could be found. Somebody did that wanting the bodies to be found. And unless this, again, it's another multiple thing where normally serial killers start out with one and build up. They don't usually start out with multiple victims on their first foray.
Right.
So I don't know. I have a hard time with the timeline. In the daylight, you grab these girls, and then the next morning they're found posed. That's just strange. That doesn't sound like a single killer.
Where's all these witnesses that saw these Brad Holder, all these other guys that were out there? Supposedly there was 4 or 5, according to the Odinist theory. Where is all these witnesses that were out there? Flannel shirt guy, Betsy Blair, the 3 girls. How did they never see none of these people out there? I mean, that's puzzling to me. Where were they hiding at?
Right. Well, there's a couple of things that are puzzling. One, if the bodies were moved, they were moved at night. We could safely suggest that, right?
I believe that.
So the property owner didn't notice anything going on behind his house. There was nothing to alert him. There were no noises of moving.
Why do you think the where Ron Logan's house is and where the girls were found is many yards away from his home?
Do we have any idea where Mr. Allen was from after he left the bridge to the next morning? Do we have any idea what his location was? Was he home with his wife?
We don't know that.
Okay. Did he go to work the next day?
We don't know that either.
All right. Those are important facts because in my opinion, because the bodies were moved like that, that's an unusual act.
He went home.
You keep saying the bodies were moved. What makes you so sure that the bodies were moved? I want you to clarify that.
Well, because I've been told that one body was drained of blood, but there was no blood at the scene.
Yes.
Who told you that?
It's in the documentation. There was not one drop of blood at the scene that they found those bodies at, and one of the bodies was completely and totally drained of blood. How do you?
Okay, but who told you the bodies were moved?
Nobody did. I'm assuming that they were moved based on that scenario. Okay.
Okay.
There-
Yeah.
and I
I'm
said it's
wondering.
all pure speculation. It's all
It's
pure
in the
speculation.
documents. True crime is saying that it's in the documents that one of the bodies, that's what I was made to understand, were devoid of blood. And there's
Yeah,
no blood.
that's
There's no
fact.
blood at the scene to accommodate, the amount of fluid that there's a couple
way-
of liters of blood in you.
Here's the thing. Let me say this real quick, okay? That part of it's a theory, as I've stated, okay, from the beginning, that they were moved. But here's my thing. Based on my experience working in EMS, I've been on scenes where people were cut, accident scenes, this and that. And if somebody's body, okay, I had one, for instance, where a gentleman was at a fishing spot and he decided to end his life, and he cut his jugular vein, okay? And he bled out within 5 minutes. There was so much blood on that area there that it took them 4 days to absorb it and clean it all. 4 full days, guys. That's how much blood there was.
Let me
Now-
just say that it'd be important. Did they dig that area up on the second visit?
That I don't know. I don't know.
Because now you're outdoors. It's going to soak into the ground.
It's in some senses,
Right.
yeah, but let me finish this first, okay? You're right. That's the thing. If you're on the ground, yes, it will somewhat absorb into the ground, but it would be pooled, okay? And then because of the weather and temperatures and stuff, it will coagulate and it will pool and then sit. There was not one drop of blood on a leaf at that scene. So there's no way that little girl bled out in that area at that scene. I'm sorry. There's no, unless somebody stood there and collected it all as they did it and left with it.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
And the reason I asked about them digging is because that would explain how they found the casing or bullet, right?
Right. And
So you find the deceased body that's devoid of that, and any scene where somebody's been stabbed and they're nude or not, you would look for trace blood evidence under the victims, right? And around the victims. So it would include between the victims.
there was
where
no
they claim
pooling.
they
there was
found the
no
bullet.
nothing. Right.
Okay, well that's a problem, right? And that's a problem going back to Mr. Allen being the guy that did it. As
Mhm.
far as I can see, it just doesn't seem to fit that somebody would do what he did in broad daylight, be successful at it, and then take their lives and then get away, to come back
Right.
or to wait around.
And another thing with that thing, if that was the scene, they spent the night there, deceased. The blood, whether it absorbs into the ground or not, is going because the temperature dropped. It was a warmer day that day in February. I get it. The temperature still dropped that night. That blood, because of the temperature dropping, will coagulate, and there would have to be some form of pooling. Okay, even after, if somebody stood there and collected it, we'll say, as morbid as that is, okay, there's no way that they got it all and stood there and did this and that. There would be droplets of it here or there for whatever reason. I've seen this. There was nothing. That makes no sense to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I could
agree.
be wrong. I'm just telling you, based on my physical experience doing these things. I mean, guys, it doesn't. You could prick your finger and have blood on a leaf somewhere, or on your body on anything. There was nothing. So that's what makes me feel this did not happen here. They cleaned everything up and brought them here, and here we are. That's why I say that. Okay, I could be wrong, and I'm okay that way. I will be wrong if I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'll admit I'm sorry. I was wrong.
Why
don't
all
think-
why all the sticks covering the girls?
That's the oldnistic, the ritualistic scenario going on, and there's no way I heard somebody say, well, that was just coincidental, they fell out of the trees and landed that way. Bullshit. Okay, and one of them was clean cut. For one, they don't just fall out of the tree and land in that position with the girl's arm up and everything. No, come on, common sense looks at this and it tells you, okay, that was staged in that sense, like that somebody did that. Okay.
Is it not hard for you? Is it not hard for you to believe, man? I know you. I'm sure everybody in this chat and all you guys on the panel, you're probably just like me. I've been covering true crime for like 25 years, and I've seen so many cases, and I've investigated just from a personal standpoint a lot of stuff. and it's not out of the reach for someone to do this and then feel guilt and say, oh my God, what have I done? And start like trying to hide what they did, like cover it up to give them time to go get out of the situation before someone would notice what they'd done. That's what makes sense to me, that he threw sticks and things like that on the girls because he wanted to cover up what he had just done, so it would give him amount of time
So
to
wait
get
a
out.
minute, Anthony. Those girls were in pretty plain sight from the location they were found, were they not?
No, they weren't. That's not true. That's not
How
true.
far back were they? Far back in the woods, where that you couldn't see them from the trail or from the bridge?
Absolutely, they were in a bowl. The whole area right there, it dips down.
So they could have
if
been
you're
there the whole
actually-
time. Somebody could have been with them there the whole time, right?
If you're actually walking by, you wouldn't be able to actually just see them unless you were actually looking in that
Okay.
area.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying, man, I don't
No.
know.
I'm accepting your statement. I'm not disagreeing. When I
Yeah.
said okay, it's
Yeah.
not a disagreement,
I
Anthony.
appreciate-
You're giving
Yeah,
me
I
a clearer
appreciate-
understanding of things. I have a very little. I've got some knowledge from what I've heard Dago read, but that's the first time I've been exposed to most of this.
Well,
Yeah, the area dips down. It's like a bowl almost, to
Yeah, I
where
can picture it.
the landscaping it makes it a little more difficult to see that little area right there. And man, this was way far away. People say it was in Ron Logan's backyard. Ron Logan's land is huge. It was way back from his house.
Okay. Well,
all right. Well, let me ask this though, and I'm not disrespecting your feelings or your thoughts on this, and I agree that you do something like this, you want to cover it up to hide it. So I get that, okay. And if you're throwing leaves and sticks on these bodies like this, and you're okay, they're not going to land in this specific design on top of these girls with their arm being up this way and this being that way and the leg being crossed over. And on top of that, one of the deceased victim's blood on a tree behind them with a rune on it as well. Okay. That is not just something that just happened, is what I'm saying. That's why I can't say.
Well, you can't rule out that he didn't have something to do with Odinist himself, right?
No, I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying that is not a coincidence. That is real for what it is, period, in my opinion.
Well,
So,
I will say this. I will say this about the Odinistic part, right? What we know of the Odinism aspect of this is that there was an investigation done into a possible correlation between what happened and their positions in the tree limbs and Odinistic rituals. We also know that for some reason that was dropped. They stopped pursuing that, which I still say that there's a possibility that it's just based on somebody's interpretation of what they saw that they put that possible connection together, and it could absolutely have nothing to do with it.
Thank you.
It is possible that it has nothing to do with it. Whether it's
I agree with that too.
Whether the defense is pointing at the right guys or the prosecution's pointing at the right guy, it could be possible in either situation that Odinism has nothing to do with it.
Thank you.
That is, in my opinion, a slight possibility. But local police are the ones that dropped this and said, we're done with it. FBI says this is what it is. And all of a sudden, the FBI is booted off the case.
No, I mean, the FBI was down that Ron Logan theory. They wanted Ron Logan to be the guy.
That was true too. Okay, but I'm saying, maybe I said that wrong. Okay, the FBI is what called it out as looking like a cult situation. Okay, and local law enforcement wanted nothing to do with that. And if I'm wrong, somebody correct me. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm saying this right. Then the FBI is removed. That to me looks like, okay, we don't want this talked about. Let's get rid of the problem, so on and so forth. Okay. I can't go. I can't. I know what you're saying, Cletus, and I respect it. I do. I know what you're meaning, but see this many things, okay? To see this many things point in this specific direction, and then to know that it was brushed under the rug, and to know that these lies were told, to know that these things were these stories were changed, to know that these things all happened together in bulk, it says no to me.
And I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing that. The only point I'm making is that the position of the limbs and all that is one. It's an interpretation of what was found.
It is.
It
I agree.
doesn't mean that it's not accurate. It doesn't mean that it is. It's just that's an.
Couldn't it also have been ruled out when you said they investigated it? It could have been ruled out, as far as we know, right?
Right. Now, there is other things in what you read earlier that makes it interesting for sure.
Here's something. Here's something that always bothered me about this crime scene. Why in the hell would he leave Libby's phone there?
We all want to know that. Everybody
supposedly it was that it was in a shoe
underneath her.
Okay, it was underneath her, but it wasn't in a shoe.
No, you're right. I'm saying it was in the shoe underneath her. That's how they found this. Okay.
All right. Why would he leave that phone there? He didn't know that they videoed him. I don't believe that he did. But why would you leave the phone there? That's weird to me. When they can track locations, GPS.
I don't think anybody has the answer to that. I think that's one of the biggest questions everybody has is maybe somebody involved in this wanted this found. Okay. Maybe they wanted this. I mean, it's a reach, but maybe it was part of this whole elaborate situation to help to build this story. I don't know, but maybe it was just completely forgotten about, which sounds ridiculous.
Did they find Abby's phone?
I don't believe so.
Because supposedly Abby didn't have a phone.
Yeah, I don't believe there was another phone found. If I'm wrong again, please correct me. Like I said, I got into this late, and I'm still picking up new details and old details and trying to put it all together. So bear with me.
Good.
Can I ask another question? Did they find the other shoe, or was it just the one shoe that they found?
The shoe that was found with the phone was the one that I noticed, or no, that I knew about.
One of the trophies, if there's only one of the shoes out of the two there.
I think undergarments are the only thing that was missing. The undergarments was the only thing that was missing from the crime scene, as far as I know. According
the other stuff, I believe, was found in the creek. Okay, the other clothing and stuff like that. That's what my understands. So my understanding is,
but there was still an undergarment that was missing from the crime scene. Is from what I know.
Oh, they had the one girl. Listen, I hate talking about this stuff because it's morbid. There was one girl that was found completely nude. The other girl was found wearing the other girl's clothes, and I do believe the one detail that I know, the one undergarment wasn't there two undergarments worn by the one girl?
Yes, and you know what? There's been multiple women that said when they were teenagers, and I'm not trying to get morbid like you.
No, I know what you mean. To make it
look like their breasts were bigger than they were, and that's not abnormal. That's not abnormal.
My sister told me that she did that when she was younger too.
Yes, and a lot of women do that.
I don't know if that's the case in that. I'm just saying that.
What's the point of doing that?
To make your breasts look bigger than they are. when you're a young teenager, you're self-conscious about yourself. You want to look pretty, you want to look sexy. So you're going to make yourself look like, hey, I'm not trying to sound mean,
Okay,
but
I got you.
I'm flat chested, but if I put 2 bras on, it makes it look like I have a little bit bigger boobs than I really do.
Yeah, my sister said she did that. I don't know if that's the case here with this. I'm just saying I know what you're talking about. I don't want to get into that stuff because that's a little too
And I don't either, because I don't want to disrespect these girls one bit, because
No.
they're the victims.
Let me ask this question. This is what I was getting at and asking if they found the other shoe. Is there any reason to believe that it couldn't be a situation? When I look at this and I take the Odinist thing out of it and just think, is there a plausible scenario that makes sense as to how all this ended up, right? And to me, if somebody saw them, took them into the creek, did what they did, that's how one of them ended up with no blood in their body. It went into the creek, and then drugged them over to this area, covered them with limbs in a hurry, and that's why